A single thunderous declaration shatters the peace of the Royal Academy. The engagement is off! But as the world crashes down around them, X is hit by something far more jarring. A flood of memories from a past life in Japan. He's not just a noble's son anymore. He's a man who remembers everything. The ballroom falls into a suffocating silence, every eye fixed on the girl standing alone in the center of the room. X watches her, feeling the oppressive weight of the atmosphere. Something about this scene feels far too familiar. It hits him like a bolt of lightning. That girl is Alice Misty, the doomed villainess from a romance game he played in his previous life. In every single ending, her fate was misery, exile, or death. He's trapped inside a story where she's destined to lose everything. X realizes his own place in this world. He's X-Lost, the most hated side character in the game's history. He looks toward the prince and the girl beside him, Maria, and realizes the script is already in motion. The prince's rage is peaking, and the target is Alice. Accusations fly. Hiring assassin, social exclusion, cruelty. But X knows the game, and this isn't how it went. The lies are too extreme, the evidence too convenient. He begins to wonder, is the innocent Maria also a reincarnated soul playing a dangerous game? As the prince prepares to deliver the final blow to Alice's reputation, X decides he's had enough of the original plot. He steps forward, cutting through the tension with a proposal that leaves the entire room breathless. Please marry me, Lady Alice. Shock ripples through the crowd. But X doesn't flinch. He spent a lifetime loving this character from afar, and now that she's real and suffering, he can't just stand by. If the prince is going to throw her away, X will be the one to catch her. Alice is frozen, her eyes wide with disbelief at this sudden salvation. X doesn't stop there. He turns to the prince with a cold, unwavering gaze. He makes it clear, if the crown intends to make her suffer, they'll have to go through him first. He turns his fire toward Maria, calling out her false accusations and the cruelty hidden behind her smile. The prince is livid, threatening X with exile for daring to insult the heroine, but X only scoffs. He knows the king is watching, and the game is changing. With a final biting comment about the prince's fitness to rule, X takes Alice's hand and leads her away from the chaos. The prince screams for the guards to stop them, but it's too late. The villainess has found her protector, and the original story is officially dead. The tension is suffocating. X doesn't just stand his ground. He challenges the very nature of the guards' loyalty, forcing them to question if they are mere puppets of the crown. With a cold dismissal from the prince, the room clears, leaving X and Alice in the wake of the chaos. Away from the prying eyes of the court, the air finally softens. X turns to Alice, his voice laced with a sincerity she's never known, apologizing for the turmoil he's brought into her life. He asks for one simple thing, to be called by his name, stripping away the formal barriers between them. Alice tries to apologize, her heart still burdened by the guilt the world forced upon her, but X won't have it. He shuts down her apologies with a firm resolve, reminding her that she is not the one at fault, and that the prince's cruelty was a choice, not a necessity. Then, the moment shifts. The world around them fades as X pours his heart out, declaring a love that transcends the boundaries of a game. He doesn't just offer protection, he offers his entire existence, vowing to be her shield no matter who stands against them. Broken by years of rejection, Alice wonders if someone like her, a defective woman discarded by a prince, could ever be loved. But X looks at her and sees only a treasure. He doesn't see a villainess, he sees the woman he wants to spend the rest of his life with. He doesn't hold back. With a devotion that borders on the divine, he vows to cut down anyone who dares belittle her. Then comes the question that changes everything. A formal proposal, a plea for her hand, and a declaration of love that echoes through the silence. A single word, yes. In that moment the world aligns. X realizes that his affection has evolved. He no longer loves a fictional character from a story. He loves the living, breathing woman standing before him. It was love at first sight rewritten by destiny. Their bliss is short-lived, however. Just as X swears his eternal protection, a shadow falls over them. Enter Reed Misty, the head of the Misty Duke family. A father whose presence brings a sudden, sharp chill to the air. Most would tremble before the Duke, but not X. With an audacity that borders on madness, he looks the powerful man in the eye and drops a bombshell. He has already proposed to Alice, and she has accepted. Now, he demands the Duke's blessing. The Duke's stoic mask cracks. Haunted by the memory of the suffering he ignored, he admits his own failures as a father. But the cycle of neglect ends here. In a surprising turn, Reed Misty vows to regain his feelings for his daughter and protect her with everything he has. He didn't just remember the game. He's rewriting the laws of physics. X feels his body moving with a speed and power that defies logic, his physical abilities increasing exponentially since his reincarnation. But as he brushes off the attack, he realizes the man facing isn't playing around. Steel clashes against steel in a shower of sparks. The opponent is stunned. Not even a master swordsman expected a young noble to read the trajectory of his blade so perfectly. But X doesn't care about the praise. He has only one goal in mind, and he asks for Miss Alice once again. The fight ends not with a blow, but with a deal. X plays his cards perfectly, proving that a union between the Misty House and the future Knight Commander is far more valuable than any royal engagement. The victory is absolute, though it comes with a chilling warning. Make Alice cry, and he's a dead man. The tension snaps as Alice rushes to his side, her cold facade completely melted by worry. X can't help but find her flustered reaction adorable, especially when he mentions he was ready to elope with her. For the first time, Alice isn't thinking about her reputation. She's dreaming of a knight who would kidnap her and run far away. But X isn't done teasing her. He presents her with 3 options. Go home, stay at his place, or spend the night in a private cabin he's already prepared. Alice is completely overwhelmed, her mind racing as she realizes just how bold this man truly is. In her panic, he decides to be a gentleman for now. He promises to escort her home, leaving the continuation of their night to her imagination with a knowing smirk. As they arrive at her residence, the air is thick with a new, electric anticipation. Returning home, X is met by his father, Vector Lost, the formidable knight commander. Vector is proud that his son acted as a true knight to protect a lady, but X quickly corrects him. He didn't save Alice out of duty. He did it because he loves her deeply as a woman. Vector is shocked that the villain of the Misty House actually permitted the engagement, but he pledges his full support to his son's feelings. With his future as a knight secured and his path to the Viscount title clear, X has everything he needs to ensure Alice's happiness comes first. While X finds peace, the rest of the original story is collapsing. The prince has lost his rights, and the innocent heroine has spiraled into madness, locked away in a cell. X knows the hatred of those he's displaced will eventually find him, but he doesn't care. He will be the shield that protects Alice from everything. The morning after the proposal brings a new chapter. X arrives at the Duke Misty's residence, dressed for a formal greeting. He's here to win over the parents, but his heart is only beating for one person. Alice. One look and he's completely gone. X is absolutely captivated by Alice's smile, leaving her flustered and confused by his sudden, intense devotion. In his mind, he's practically archiving this moment as a precious memory. But he's not just daydreaming. He's taking her to meet his father, making it clear that he intends to properly ask for her hand. A simple invitation for tea leads them straight into the lion's den. They're greeted by the Duchess and Duke Misty, the power couple who hold the keys to Alice's future. The atmosphere shifts instantly. While the Duke wears a polite smile, his eyes are ice cold, scanning X for any sign of weakness. But X doesn't flinch. He's here to make a formal statement. He doesn't play games. X drops the bomb, a formal proposal, delivered face to face. The Duchess is already treating him like a son, but the Duke remains a wall of resistance. Please allow me to marry Lady Alice. It's a bold move, a direct challenge to the tragic destiny Alice was born into. The Duchess respects the girl's choice, but the Duke is still weighing the risk. Then comes the ultimatum. The Duke threatens him with absolute ruthlessness if Alice ever sheds a tear. X's response? He'd literally let himself be cut to death if it meant her happiness. Because I love her. Those words shatter the Duke's defenses. The approval is silent and conditional, but it's there, as long as X can actually protect her from the world. A glimpse into the past reveals the raw passion of a young man who refused to let the villainess suffer alone. For Alice, he wasn't just a savior, he was her very first love. Back to the present, and X is a total mess. One sip of tea and he's convinced he's in the presence of a goddess, so smitten that he's secretly snapping photos of her every move. X doesn't just offer support. He drops a bombshell. He's already asked for Alice's hand in marriage, and he's got his parents' blessing to boot. Alice is left reeling, her mind racing to keep up with a reality that's shifting far too fast. In the wake of the shock, a tentative bridge is built. Alice asks for something simple yet intimate, to be called by her name. But X isn't giving it away for free. He has one condition of his own. The deal is struck. In exchange for her name, he wants hers, just X. As she whispers it for the first time, the formal walls between them finally crumble, replaced by a warmth neither of them expected. Internally, X is absolutely losing it. He's completely defeated by her sheer cuteness, fighting a desperate battle to stay composed while his heart screams in the background. To distract himself, he pivots to a safer topic. Cookies. He presents her with a tray of treats, but these aren't from some fancy bakery. He made them himself. For a girl who's spent her life being hated, this small, genuine act of effort hits her harder than any grand gesture could. One bite, and she's hooked. X leans on the secret weapon of his previous life, culinary knowledge, that the original meathead version of himself never possessed. It's a simple pleasure, but the bond is strengthening with every sip of tea. Alice is genuinely stunned by the quality, and X can't help but feel a smug satisfaction. He's rewriting his own character profile in real time, trading mindless strength for the kind of thoughtfulness that actually wins a heart. And then she smiles, a real radiant smile that lights up her entire face. In that moment, X knows that every single effort, every risk he's taken, was worth it just to see her this happy. It's a total Mo overload. X is mentally archiving every second of this perfection, cherishing the peace of the garden while knowing that tomorrow the real world, and the Academy's cruelty, awaits them. The next morning, the bubble bursts. As X and Alice arrive at school together, the atmosphere is electric with gossip. The rumors are true, the engagement is dead, and the Villainess has found a new protector. Now, the whole Academy is watching. X isn't hiding his feelings anymore. In a bold move that leaves the entire student body speechless, he declares his love for Alice right in front of everyone. The crowd is stunned. How is it possible that the dreaded Villainess is actually blushing? Whispers are getting too loud, and X has zero patience for the gossip. He shuts down the noise with a cold warning, completely ignoring a desperate student trying to scream his name. His only focus is Alice, and he's determined to spend every free moment with her. But some people just don't take a hint. A hand grabs his shoulder and X's combat instincts kick in instantly. One sharp, reflexive twist later, and the intruder is left howling in pain. The guy is frantic, screaming about his noble lineage as if that should mean something. But X is completely blank. To him, this person is a total stranger, and that sheer indifference is the ultimate insult. Then, the memory clicks. This is the pitiful side character who pined for Maria, the supposed heroine. He's desperate, claiming Maria has been locked in a cell, and he demands to know why X is just standing by while she suffers. X doesn't mince words. He bluntly tells the boy that he couldn't care less about Maria. He only cares about Alice. The student loses it, grabbing him again in a fit of rage, while Alice watches on, trembling at the confrontation. It's time for a reality check. X drops a bombshell, describing a woman who falsely accuses others to steal a fiancé, and reveals that's exactly what Maria did. He tells the boy to stop interfering and walks away, leaving the truth to sink in. One last warning. Interfere again and he'll be removed by force. Once they're alone, the coldness vanishes. X apologizes for the chaos, and Alice reveals the words he's been longing to hear. She's truly happy to be his fiancé. X is absolutely floored by her cuteness, treating her smile like a world treasure he needs to monopolize. But the moment of peace is short-lived. He knows the Baron's son won't give up easily, and for Alice's sake, he needs to play his cards right. Just as they head to class, a new presence stops them in their tracks. A polite greeting masks a dangerous aura. Enter the second prince, Rince Landry, and the game just got a lot more complicated. Let's talk about the wild card. In the original game, Prince Rince Landry was barely a footnote. A talented younger twin overshadowed by his brother Prince Mace, and eventually manipulated by the heroine. But X knows the truth. Rince is far more capable than he ever let on. The tension breaks as Prince Rince himself appears, bowing in a surprising show of humility. He offers a sincere apology for his brother's chaos, but he's not blind. He saw exactly how X stepped in to shield Alice from the brink of ruin. For Alice, the world is finally starting to look bright. The pain of the broken engagement is fading, replaced by a warmth she never thought she'd feel. With X by her side, she's finally found a happiness that belongs only to her. A promise for eternity, sealed with a gentle touch. X vows to protect Alice for the rest of his life. And for a moment, the world disappears, until Prince Rince clears his throat, requesting a private word. The stakes just skyrocketed. Rince drops a bombshell. He has ascended as the crown prince in his brother's stead, but he knows he can't rule alone. He wants X to be the strength and the shield that protects the kingdom. More than a political alliance, it's a request for genuine friendship. Rince sees X's potential as the future leader of the Knights and offers his trust. X accepts, but with one non-negotiable condition. Alice's safety comes first. Rince admits he had his own plans to save Alice, but X isn't taking any chances. He makes it clear that Alice will not be a puppet queen for anyone, even a crown prince. With the air cleared, the two young men agree to leave the formalities behind. A handshake seals the pact, but Rince has one more favor. He wants X as his occasional bodyguard. Alice gives her blessing, though X is slightly skeptical about whether his sword skills will translate to the prince's specific needs. But away from the crown and the knights, there's a different kind of request. Alice teases X with a hint of jealousy, but her real desire is deeper. She wants the walls to come down completely. She wants to know the real X. One word, and the distance between them vanishes. Alice's smile is pure, a reflection of the trust they've built together. But just as they sink into the moment, Rince calls out again. Their new alliance is already putting X to work. X has a secret, and it's one he can't risk sharing in the open. He pulls Rince aside, his voice low and urgent, needing to discuss something that could change everything. Before they can talk, they spot Alice. She's surrounded by a crowd of admirers, a far cry from the isolated Villainess the world expects. For a moment, X just watches, knowing the lonely girl hiding behind that smile. But as they walk, the conversation takes a dark turn. Rince is haunted by the way a certain commoner woman has managed to corrupt the hearts of the nobility, including his own brother. It's an influence that defies all logic. Then comes the bombshell. Magic. Not the kind found in fairy tales, but a hidden biological trait that manifests in a few. If the heroine is using this power, she's not just charming, she's manipulating. X connects the dots. This isn't just random attraction, it's charm magic. A rare, unstable power that can turn an entire court into puppets without them even realizing it. The realization is things. If she's using a hypnotic power on the opposite sex, the kingdom is effectively under her thumb. Yet, there's one glaring anomaly. X himself. Why is he the only one who can see through the haze? He considers his bloodline. But the truth is simpler and far more profound. His soul comes from another world. His reincarnation is the shield that nullifies the charm, making him the only man capable of truly protecting Alice. A pact is formed. Rince agrees to help X investigate, but X's resolve has already hardened. He doesn't care about the politics. If this power threatens Alice, he will eliminate it without hesitation. The heavy tension of the conspiracy vanishes the moment X finds Alice. Without warning, he pulls her into a sudden, possessive embrace, catching her completely off guard. As the students around them whisper in shock, Alice's world narrows down to just him. She's flutters, embarrassed, and completely overwhelmed. But as she leans into his chest, she whispers the one thing she truly wants. For him to never let go. X isn't letting Alice suffer in silence. He steps in, pleading with her to let go of her sadness and offering a promise that's almost too good to be true. He'll do absolutely anything she wants if she'll just forgive him. A flicker of curiosity sparks in Alice's eyes. She tests the waters with a simple, shy request, asking him to say, "Ah." X can't help but smirk. He's never seen this side of her before, and he's absolutely loving it. But she's just getting started. From lap pillows to Princess Carrie's, Alice lets her hidden desires slip out, one by one. X doesn't hesitate for a second. Every single request is a yes in his book. He starts with the first request, feeding her a meal he prepared himself. As she takes a bite, her guard completely drops, sending her cuteness levels straight through the roof. Not wanting to be the only one pampered, X plays his own card, suggesting that the food would taste even better if she were the one feeding him. Alice is caught off guard, but the blush on her cheeks tells him she doesn't mind at all. Then, without warning, X loses his composure. He pulls her into a crushing hug from behind, admitting that the memory of her requests was simply too much to resist. In this stolen moment of peace, the world outside ceases to exist. Just for a little while, they can forget the politics and the pain, cherishing a lunch that feels like a dream. X knows the script of this world, the Otome game, the role of the villainess, but he burns those rules to the ground. To him, she isn't a character or a villain. She's Alice, and he'll fight the entire world to keep that smile on her face. But the peace is shattered by a voice from the shadows. A mysterious stranger appears, dropping a bombshell that chills X to the bone. He knows that the person standing there isn't the original X lost, but a different entity wearing his skin. The mystery only deepens as X is summoned for an audience with the Emperor himself. As he's led toward the palace doors alone, a heavy sense of dread settles in his chest. He has a bad feeling about this, and he's probably right. Step into the lion's den. X finds himself face to face with the Emperor, a man who doesn't see a loyal noble, but a stranger wearing a familiar skin. The tension is suffocating, but X doesn't flinch. He stands his ground, asserting exactly who he is. The Emperor is intrigued. He sees the change in X, attributing this newfound strength to the power of love. But then, the mask slips, revealing a chilling cruelty as the Emperor openly mocks his own son, Prince Rince, calling him a fool unfit to rule. X can only watch in disbelief. This is a father who views his own blood as a disappointment. Curiosity turns to interrogation. The Emperor wants to know how X managed to sway the stubborn Duke Misty. When X mentions his feelings for Alice, the conversation takes a sudden, awkward turn. A passionate confession to the Duke? X is quick to shut that down, but the Emperor's amusement only grows. But the pleasantries are over. The Emperor has a request, a mission that puts X right in the center of a royal mess. He demands that X protect Prince Rince at any cost, specifically from the girl who managed to seduce the foolish prince. The stakes are lethal. The Emperor considers execution or house arrest for the girl, fearing the influence of charm magic. X doesn't care about the heroine's fate, but he knows one thing for certain. If her downfall drags Alice into the chaos, he will stop at nothing to prevent it. A deal is struck. X agrees to be the prince's shield, but with one condition: no thoughtless executions. He'll play the Emperor's game, but only to keep Alice safe. The Emperor smiles, sensing that X is exactly the tool he needs. Leaving the throne room behind, X is led deep into the bowels of the castle. The air grows cold and damp as they reach the dungeons. There, behind heavy iron bars, waits the girl at the heart of the scandal. Hope flares in the girl's eyes the moment she sees X. She thinks her savior has arrived. But the crushing reality hits hard when Prince Rince steps forward, introducing himself with a coldness that leaves her trembling. In a desperate whisper, she begs for help. As Rince reaches out, X moves like a blur. With a violent tackle, he slams the prince into the stone floor before he can touch her. Dazed and coughing, Rince wonders if he was just hit by a spell. But X has seen the truth. This isn't just a girl. It's a weapon. X brushes off the prince, his mind racing. The way she used that charm magic was too precise, too conscious. He looks at Maria and realizes the terrifying truth. He's not the only one who remembers another world. Someone else has reincarnated as Maria. And the game just got a lot more dangerous. The truth finally crashes down. Maria isn't just a manipulator, she's a reincarnator, just like X. But as she smiles from behind the bars, she drops a bombshell. She wasn't after the prince, but a mysterious hidden character from the game. A hidden character? X is blindsided. He realizes Maria possesses knowledge from a ported version of the game that he's never seen. This changes everything. He's no longer the only one with the script, and Maria is far more dangerous than he imagined. Knowing he can't just leave her to rot, X makes a daring proposal. Become Alice's maid. Maria laughs in his face, questioning why she wouldn't just betray him the first chance she gets. But X has a counteroffer she can't ignore. The playfulness vanishes in an instant. With a cold, lethal gaze, X warns her that if a single hair on Alice's head is harmed, he won't hesitate to cut her down. But the tension breaks as he reveals that the crown prince is already waiting to get them out. Maria's dreams of being the perfect heroine have crumbled into dust. She realizes she's been a pawn in the king's game, and now her only path to the outcome she wants is to serve the very girl she tried to destroy. In a strange moment of kinship, the two rivals bond over the absurdity of their situation. While Maria was thrown into this world suddenly, X reveals he's been navigating this destiny since he was a child. Maria speaks of the terror of waking up in a foreign world, but X feels nothing but resolve. For him, the form he took didn't matter, because his entire existence is dedicated to one single purpose: saving Alice. Moved by a devotion so absolute it's almost frightening, Maria finally gives in. A handshake seals the deal. The former villainess of the plot will now serve as the protector of the misunderstood noble. Alice is completely bewildered when X introduces her to a new maid. He claims Maria wants to atone for her sins, but as Alice looks at her, she doesn't see a criminal. She sees someone in need of forgiveness. Alice's pure heart strikes again, as she apologizes for her own shortcomings, leaving X absolutely breathless. In that moment, his heart hammers against his ribs with a singular possessive truth. Alice is his, and he will let nothing in this world take her away. The tension is palpable as Maria makes her move, attempting to slide into Alice's inner circle as her personal maid. While the world sees a helpful gesture, X is reading between the lines, and he's absolutely loving it. If this is a play for jealousy, X is more than ready to lean into the chaos. Alice agrees, but with one strict condition: no indecent acts. But Maria isn't making it easy, teasingly listing everything from hand-holding to kissing, leaving the usually composed Alice a blushing mess. The game of hearts is getting dangerous. As Maria and Alice exchange formal introductions, a strange new dynamic is born. The original heroine has officially become the Villainess's servant. But while they bond, X is in the background, obsessively documenting every moment of Alice's life. He's not just protecting her. He's captivated. But X isn't naive. He knows Maria's true nature, and having her close to Alice is a calculated risk. To ensure the Villainess stays safe, he decides he needs an eye on the heroine at all times. And he knows exactly who to call. Enter Barris, the Misty House butler. To most, he's just a capable servant, but X knows the truth. Barris is a hidden character from the game with combat skills that rival the best. He's the perfect secret weapon for the surveillance X requires. The strategy is simple: charm magic. If Maria is using her powers to manipulate the staff, a man like Barris is the only one who can provide an objective report without falling under her spell. X is playing a high-stakes game of chess, and he's 3 moves ahead. As a fellow reincarnator, X knows that caution is the only way to survive this world. He's not just saving Alice for now. He's building a fortress of loyal allies to protect her future. Barris is just the first piece of the puzzle. When Barris hesitates, X drops the hammer, using Alice's potential loneliness as the ultimate leverage. It's a complete threat wrapped in a polite request. X might look like a gentleman, but when it comes to Alice, he's a demon in disguise. X even begins dreaming of a romantic pairing between Maria and Barris just to keep them both under his thumb. But his daydream is shattered instantly. A sudden blade, a fierce glare, and a challenge that demands blood. Fight me. The peace is gone, replaced by the morning commotion of the academy. While X deals with his new rival, the student body is buzzing with rumors. They call Maria a witch for stealing away the attention of the nobility, and the social war is only just beginning. Whispers are deafening. While the crowd judges, X is playing a much deeper game, strategically turning the innocent heroine into a servant to dismantle her influence and rewrite Alice's reputation. But not everyone is following the script. Driven by a blind obsession with Maria, a noble student snaps, unable to stomach the humiliation. He draws his blade, demanding a duel to settle the score. The stakes are set. If X wins, Maria stays put. The agreement is made for a clash after school, leaving Alice gripped by a lingering fear for X's safety. Before the storm hits, X finds a moment of absolute peace. He knows that one-sided obsession leads to madness, but his love for Alice is the only thing that feels real in this twisted world. He isn't fooled by the hero in act. X knows the dark truth of the original game, that Maria is a dangerous variable capable of ruin. To truly protect Alice, he has to neutralize the threat early. The time for planning is over. As school lets out, X arrives at the training grounds to find a massive crowd already gathering, all eager to see the collision. Opponent sneers, mocking X for risking everything for a single woman. He thinks he's facing a fool, but he has no idea who he's actually stepping up against. One last boost of morale. With a gentle pat on the head and a bold request for a kiss as a reward, X turns Alice's blush into the ultimate motivation. The final terms are locked in. X grips the training sword, finding it pitifully light, almost as light as his opponent's chances of survival. Dart. The opponent lunges with everything he has, but for X, it's like watching a child play. One fluid motion, one pathetic stumble, and the gap in their power is laid bare. The tension is electric as the opponent lunges, but X is a ghost, slipping past every strike with effortless precision. While the other man screams in frustration, X remains chillingly calm, teasing him with a dangerous question. Why end the fight so soon when he hasn't even shown the true gap in their power? He cuts right through the man's pride, exposing the fake motives behind his rage. But before the opponent can even scream his defiance, strikes. A single devastating blow that shatters the momentum and sends him crashing to the dirt. The silence that follows is deafening. With the victory secured, X looks down on his fallen foe with a cold reminder. Tantrums don't get you what you want. As the crowd erupts, Alice rushes to his side, worried he fought barehanded, but X simply gives her a reassuring smile. He's barely broken a sweat. After a brief word on how to handle the loser, X turns his full attention to Alice. In a moment that stops the heart of everyone watching, he drops to one knee, taking her hand and dedicating his victory entirely to her. This isn't just a gesture, it's a vow. X declares that from this moment on, he will be her shield, defeating anyone who dares stand in their way. The crowd is buzzing. It's practically a public proposal, and Alice can only blush as she realizes the depth of his devotion. But X is playing a deeper game. By marking his territory so boldly, he's establishing a new unspoken law in the academy. Touch Alice and you deal with the Knight Commander's son. He's not just winning a fight, he's building a fortress around her. Later, X visits the defeated fan Rakuta in the infirmary. There's no mockery here, only a piercing question that cuts deeper than any blade. X challenges him to be honest. Did he ever actually care for Maria? Or was it all a lie? Pulls back the layers of Rakuta's loneliness, revealing a truth the boy had been blind to. His own maid loves him. X points out that the look in her eyes is the same one he and Alice share. A pure, unwavering affection. The truth crashes down on Rakuta. He admits to a heartbreaking misunderstanding, believing his maid loved his father after seeing them together. In a desperate attempt to numb that pain, he had convinced himself he loved someone else just to forget. X gently corrects the delusion, explaining that the maid's bond with his father is purely parental. As the weight of the misunderstanding lifts, X offers a final piece of advice. That same drive Rakuta used for hate could be the very thing that allows him to protect the people he truly loves. X isn't letting this man hide in his misery. He pushes him to stop giving up and fight for the one he loves, using his own unwavering resolve as a mirror for the broken man to follow. But while X plays the mentor, a darker game is being played in the shadows. A calculated setup is in motion, and the target is none other than X himself. A gloom is shattered the moment Alice arrives, her presence like a ray of light. She's finally starting to feel comfortable, but X knows the world is still a dangerous place for her. He doesn't hold back his devotion, declaring that his heart belongs to Alice alone. He's already looking toward their future, even mentioning a wedding, leaving her completely breathless and flustered. Then comes the teasing. With a playful, possessive smirk, X marks his territory, making it crystal clear that no other man is allowed to touch what is his. But the real prize is yet to come. X claims a reward for his victory, and as Alice tells him to close his eyes, the anticipation becomes electric. A single tender moment changes everything. Their first kiss seals a promise of eternal protection, and X accepts the responsibility of her heart with a smile. The next morning, the world feels different. Hand in hand and radiating happiness, X and Alice walk together, only to cross paths with Fan once again, where the pieces fall into place. X offers Fan a lifeline, a place to belong, but it comes with a price. He must become X's subordinate. A pact is formed, built on a mutual understanding of love and protection. X has not only secured his own happiness, but has begun building a circle of allies to rewrite the tragic fate of everyone involved. The air is thick with tension as the prince reads X like an open book. He calls him out, suggesting X's true goal was to break his heart just to reform him. And X doesn't even bother to deny it. But the mood shifts quickly from calculation to camaraderie. A few jokes about preferred types and the boundaries of friendship later, the walls between them finally begin to crumble. Beneath the royal poise, the prince reveals a hidden scar. He confesses the crushing weight of the crown and a deep-seated hatred for the brother who should have led them. He remembers a brother who was arrogant, selfish, and viewed his own sibling as an enemy. While the prince sees only his own inadequacy, X sees the truth. Dignity is meaningless if you lack the strength to back it up. In a moment of genuine connection, X vows his support. The prince is grateful, but he has one final heavy request. He wants X to help rehabilitate his broken family. The stakes are higher than they seem. With the former prince spiraling into depression and the public watching every move, one wrong step could lead to a tragedy that no one can undo. Panic flares in X's mind. He knows that any instability in the royal line could put Alice right back in the crosshairs. He can't let her be a pawn in someone else's revenge, so he takes the burden upon himself. Later, the chaos of politics fades into the quiet of a garden lunch. Alice notices the shadow on X's face, and with a tenderness that melts his heart, offers to do absolutely anything for him. X can't help but be protective. He warns her that such a dangerous offer would drive any other man wild, all while admitting, with a soft smile, just how cute she really is. But Alice's curiosity gets the better of her, leading to a question that catches him completely off guard. X doesn't hesitate for a second, shutting down every other possibility with one thunderous declaration. His heart belongs to Alice and her alone. The tension of the Villainess label is gone, replaced by something far more dangerous, genuine affection. X knows exactly how to push her buttons, teasing Alice until she's a blushing, flustered mess. For a moment, the world outside doesn't exist. Alice's smile is radiant, a far cry from the misery the original game promised. But as they settle into the quiet, she notices the gears turning in X's head. He brings up the ghosts of her past, Prince Mace and Maria. But Alice's answer is a total game changer. She isn't bitter, she's grateful, because the man she truly loves is finally by her side. X is floored. A first love? He's the one who's been trying to save her. But it turns out Alice might have been falling for him long before he even realized it. Her happiness only fuels X's devotion, though his version of devotion is starting to get a little intense. He doesn't just want her happy. He wants her completely, obsessively dependent on him. But the peace is short-lived. X pays a visit to the fallen prince, finding Mace spiraling in a pit of his own making. The man who once had everything now has nothing, and he knows exactly who to blame. X doesn't offer pity. He offers a mirror. He forces Mace to realize that his obsession with Maria came at the cost of Alice's soul. This isn't just a conversation, it's a psychological execution. Just as Mace hits rock bottom, X throws him a lifeline, but it's a trap, a duel. One match to decide if Mace gets a second chance at love or if he becomes X's puppet. Desperate and delusional, Mace accepts. He thinks he's fighting for his future, but X is fighting for Alice's past. It's time to settle the score once and for all. When they finally meet on the field, X reveals the terrifying scale of his confidence. Unarmed, no right hand? To X, this isn't a fight, it's a humiliation. The real massacre is about to begin. The clash begins, but for X, it's almost like slow motion. While Prince Rince swings with everything he has, X dances around him, reading every move before it even happens. The prince is desperate, but you can't hit what you can't catch. It isn't just a spar, it's a slaughter. X doesn't just defend. He strikes back with a speed that defies logic. One dash, one blur of steel, and the prince is left wondering how the world just shifted beneath his feet. The gap in their power is staggering. X reveals the secret to his strength. He has someone he's willing to protect. With a single crushing blow, he shatters the prince's confidence and sends his sword clattering across the stone. No more excuses. X grabs the prince, forcing him to face a brutal truth. He's no longer the golden boy of the kingdom. He's just a miserable prince, clinging to a title that no longer means a thing. The lesson is harsh but necessary. X tells him that if he wants respect, he has to earn it through effort and service to the country. Defeated and humbled, the prince can do nothing but admit his loss. But here's the terrifying part. X wasn't even trying. He hasn't even touched his body enhancement magic since he reincarnated. If this is his base level, just how monstrous could he become if he let loose? A strange bond forms in the aftermath, as the prince actually thanks him for the wake-up call. X brushes it off, but inside his resolve is colder than ever. If anyone ever dared to target Alice, he wouldn't just fight them. He'd consider assassination. But the day isn't over. With a determined look in his eyes, X sets his sights on a new target. He's heading to the Misty residence to confront Alice's stepbrother. The scene shifts to the damp, oppressive silence of Duke Misty's basement. X descends into the dark, accompanied by an unlikely ally. As they reach the iron bars of a cell, a voice sneers from the shadows, demanding to know who has come. The answer is a name that sparks instant hatred. X lost. The man behind the bars, Gates Misty, explodes in a fit of rage, recognizing the boy he loathes. X doesn't flinch. He's ready to break this man's spirit, knowing that in this twisted family, it's the only way to ensure Alice's peace. Cold realization hits like a hammer. Locked away and forgotten, the young man is told his time has run out, replaced by a new son and condemned to rot in a cell until his final breath. X doesn't offer comfort. He strips away the prisoner's delusions, reminding him that the love he craved from the Duke's family was always a lie. In the original game, this was a tragedy of loneliness. But X isn't playing by those rules. The prisoner's denial is loud, but X's voice is colder. He doesn't care for screams or protests. He only cares for results. And now he offers a choice, one that feels more like a sentence. Believe him and die, or refuse and suffer a fate far worse. With a blade ready for a mercy killing, X pushes the man to the absolute brink of terror. The desperation is palpable. The facade finally shatters. Broken and sobbing, the man clings to the only lifeline he has left, screaming into the void that he simply cannot die. There's a way out, but it comes with a price. To live, he must surrender everything, his pride, his will, his very existence. He is no longer a man, he is now X's tool. One rule, touch Alice, and you die. With a simple yes, the threat is neutralized and X can finally breathe. One disaster averted. But the game is far from over. The next day brings a new face into the fray, Light Charles. On the surface, he's the charming second son of a duke. But to X, he's a known target from a hidden storyline. Knowledge is power, and X is gathering every scrap of it. By negotiating with the maid Maria, he's mapping out the remaining threats. He won't leave anything to chance. Every source of anxiety will be eliminated. A casual tea time, a friendly conversation, and a question that changes everything. Light is looking for a girl named Maria. Just as X thinks he's in control, the plot throws another curveball. A quiet afternoon, tea and cookies on the table. But the conversation is far from light. Light reflects on his brother's fall from grace, while X realizes that Alice's reputation as a villainess doesn't seem to be a concern for him at all. Then comes a surprise. The treats aren't from a professional chef, but were homemade by X himself. As they discuss the crushing weight of their family legacies, X admits that while the pressure is real, it's also a source of immense pride. The mask slips as Light confesses the sleepless nights and anxiety that come with being the next head of a ducal family. Seeing a kindred spirit in the struggle, X offers a steady piece of wisdom. Move forward one step at a time, and you'll eventually reach your goal. A genuine bond is formed, and Light asks X to continue guiding him, but the peaceful atmosphere is shattered by a single sharp knock at the door. Peter has arrived. No warnings, no formalities. Peter Charles bursts in like a storm of rage, lunging forward to seize X by the collar, screaming in a blind fury that he has no right to show his face here. Accusations pour out, betrayal, misery, and a deep-seated hatred. Peter is spiraling, unable to comprehend how Maria could possibly end up as the maid for a woman he considers ugly and vile. But X just watches him, completely unfazed. The moment Peter insults Alice, the atmosphere turns lethal. In a blur of motion, X seizes Peter's hand in a crushing grip, his voice dropping to a chilling threat. Keep using that filthy mouth, and he'll break those hands right here. X looms over the trembling man, delivering a final cold ultimatum: demean Alice again, and his life is no longer guaranteed. To Light, watching from the side, this brutal education is exactly what a fool blinded by pride deserves. And terrified and broken, Peter can only recoil, calling X a monster. But the physical pain is nothing compared to what comes next. With a cold clink, X drops a small ornate hairpin onto the floor. A message delivered directly from Maria. The final blow is a total rejection. Maria's returning the gift because it's no longer needed. But X adds one last twist of the knife. She wasn't just returning it. She was laughing at Peter's poor taste. Despair tastes bitter, and for the prince it's an all-consuming flood. He's left wondering where it all went wrong, only for X to step in and shatter the silence. With a smirk that radiates absolute confidence, X doesn't offer comfort. He offers a cold, hard truth about the prince's own arrogance. The critique doesn't stop there. X strips away the royal facade, calling him nothing more than a puppet with an empty head. But then the game changes. In a move of pure dominance, X extends a hand with a chilling proposition. Will you become my puppet? But the coldness vanishes the moment X looks at Alice. For him, she is the only thing in this world that truly matters. While he's willing to play the villain in the shadows to keep her safe, he can never let her see the darkness he carries. Testing the strength of their bond, X asks a dangerous hypothetical. What if he did something bad? The answer is simpler than he ever imagined. Alice's trust is absolute. She believes in him, even if the rest of the world doesn't. That kind of devotion is intoxicating. X claims her with a possessive tenderness, making it clear that she belongs to him and him alone. Overwhelmed by the warmth, a sleepy Alice makes a request that catches him completely off guard. With a soft flop, she settles into his lap, finding peace in his presence. As X strokes her beautiful hair, the world around them fades away. In this quiet moment, there is no game, no destiny, just the two of them. The exhaustion of his double life melts away in her company, but the peace is fleeting. As he looks up at the sky, the mask of the protector returns. He's happy, yes, but the mission isn't over. There is still one target left to deal with. With the board almost set, X decides it's time for a different kind of move. He turns to Alice, his gaze softening, and asks the question that changes everything. Will you go on a date with me? For a noble girl like Alice, the concept of a date is a foreign mystery. As she processes the definition, the realization hits her like a lightning bolt. She and X, they're actually going on a date together? He knows she's been trapped in a gilded cage for too long. Taking her hand, X promises her a world beyond the academy walls. A simple day of exploration, laughter, and genuine happiness. The tragedy of the original story is officially dead. A new one is beginning. A rare moment of sweetness. Alice admits that as long as she's with X, she's willing to go anywhere. With the date set for the next holiday, a spark of anticipation lingers in the air. But the peace is short-lived as X returns home to face a mountain of a man. This is his father, the Knight Commander. A man feared across the land as the war demon. He might seem like a muscle-brained brute, but his strength is legendary. In a rare moment of vulnerability, the commander reveals that he isn't invincible. There are only two people he could never defeat. His own father, Mobius Lost, and a mysterious lifelong nemesis known only as that guy. X can't help but cringe. This feels like a classic shonen manga plot twist, a looming threat that wasn't in any of the Otome game scripts. The mystery of this unbeatable opponent casts a long, dark shadow over the future. Realization hits X hard. If monsters like this exist, his current strength isn't nearly enough to keep Alice safe. Driven by a desperate need for power, he makes a bold request. A serious spar with the war demon himself. They move to the training grounds, where the atmosphere instantly shifts. The commander warns that a real fight could level the entire area, but he doesn't hold back. With a predatory grin, the battle begins. It clashes with a deafening roar. X pushes himself to the limit, throwing in everything from precision strikes to a brutal sweeping kick. He's fighting for his life. But the commander only smirks. The intensity ramps up until it's suffocating. As the blades scream against each other, X realizes the terrifying truth. His father isn't just training him. He's attacking with genuine killing intent. One final, explosive collision. The commander challenges him, demanding to know exactly how far X can push his limits. It's no longer a lesson, it's a test of survival. The dust settles, but the aftermath is catastrophic. Vice-Countess Makina Lost arrives to find the training grounds in ruins, her fury echoing through the wreckage. Amidst the chaos and the apologies, she looks at X with a flicker of genuine concern, wondering if he's even still in one piece. X isn't the timid boy he once was. With a gaze hardened by resolve, he vows to tear down every single obstacle standing between him and the woman he loves. Even his own family can see the change, but amidst the tension, a mother's love remains, reminding him that no matter how far he wanders, he will always have a place to call home. Stepping into the bustling streets of his family's territory, X is greeted as a hero. He's a man who walked away from the prestige of a princess and the title of Earl, choosing instead the raw power of land and loyalty. It's a bold move, but for X, status means nothing if it doesn't serve his ultimate goal. Beside him, Alice is a vision of grace, and X can't help but be captivated by her. A simple clasp of hands, a gentle invitation to walk together. Their bond is deepening with every second. But their peaceful stroll is interrupted when a familiar face from the past appears. Without a hint of hesitation, X introduces her to his uncle as his fiancée. The revelation hits like a thunderclap, confirming the rumors that he's snatched the Villainess right from under the prince's nose. He doesn't care about the scandal. His heart has belonged to her since the very beginning. The town erupts in celebration, their happiness infectious as the community rallies around the couple. From heartfelt congratulations to simple gifts of street food, the warmth of the moment is overwhelming. For a brief window of time, the weight of destiny feels light, but X wants to give her something more than just a memory. He leads her to a jeweler, his eyes scanning for the perfect piece until a natural gemstone catches his eye. It's a small token, but the meaning behind it is absolute. As he slides the ring onto her finger, he calls it a substitute for the official wedding bands to come. A promise of a future he's determined to secure. Alice is beaming, but as the romantic haze settles, X leans in with a request that changes the mood entirely. Suddenly, the romance is shattered. X sweeps Alice up in a princess carry, warning her to keep her eyes shut tight, just as a group of thugs lunges from the shadows. They think they've caught him off guard, But they've just made the biggest mistake of their lives. With Alice safely in his arms, X becomes a whirlwind of violence, dismantling the attackers with terrifying precision. He doesn't just fight, he dominates. His voice turns cold as he gives them a choice. Surrender in 10 seconds, or pay the ultimate price for daring to threaten his precious Alice. The dust settles, and X returns to his gentle self, apologizing for the fright. But beneath the smile, his mind is racing. He knows this wasn't a random attack. Someone is holding a grudge, and they're getting desperate. Now, there's one last place he needs to go, and he needs Alice to trust him blindly. A moment of pure, unfiltered romance. X sweeps Alice off her feet, his voice a gentle murmur, as he asks if she's okay with him carrying her. Her shy yes is all the permission he needs, and as he tells her to open her eyes, the world transforms. He brings her to a hidden paradise, the most breathtaking flower field in the entire region. Surrounded by a sea of blooms with the academy towering in the distance, Alice is left speechless, her heart racing at the sheer beauty of it all. The mood is playful, but there's an underlying tension. When Alice asks how long he intends to carry her, X teases her, offering to set her down only to promise he'll treat her like a princess again later. But then his tone shifts, asking if it's okay to treat her like an adult. The air thickens as X leans in, his presence overwhelming. He whispers that he could treat her like an adult even more, pushing the boundary of their relationship. Flustered and breathless, Alice can barely find the words to pull back, but the playfulness vanishes, replaced by a confession that cuts deep. X pulls her into a fierce embrace, admitting he never wants to leave her side. He loves everything about her. Not just the perfection, but her flaws and the silent pain she's endured for so long. Their hands entwine, a silent vow that transcends time itself. X swears that even if he were reborn, he would always find her and never let go. But as Alice reciprocates his feelings, a cold realization hits X. To keep her safe, he must become stronger. The warmth of the flower field fades as X returns to reality, his mind focused on one goal, reaching a level of power where no one can ever interfere with their happiness. But the peace is short-lived. Stepping into a dim lounge, he's greeted by a familiar, smiling face. Marx, Stereo. Marx, the son of a wealthy merchant, wears a smile that doesn't quite reach his eyes. He boasts about the profits of his new business, but X isn't interested in the money. He's wondering why a man like Marx is hiding out in a place like this. X cuts straight to the chase, questioning Marx about rumors of a merchant involved in human trafficking. The atmosphere turns icy. Marx maintains a mask of innocence, claiming he hasn't heard a thing, but the tension in the room is suffocating. Suddenly, the world begins to spin. A wave of nausea hits X, and before he can react, he collapses across the table with a violent crash. As he slips into unconsciousness, Marx looks down at him with a chilling smirk, mocking how easily he fell into the trap. A death sentence delivered with a smile. X is told he's just been fed a lethal dose of potent poison, but he doesn't even flinch. While the conspirators wait for him to collapse, a single snap of the fingers signals that the trap has been sprung. The man behind the plot reveals himself, claiming to be part of a group called Prometheus. With a god complex and a blade in hand, he believes he's destined to rewrite the world, starting with X's execution. But the god is in for a shock. In a blur of steel and speed, X deflects the strike with effortless precision. The poison? It was useless. Thanks to his body-enhancing magic, X was never in any danger. Panicking, the leader screams for his men to kill him, but it's already too late. X moves through the attackers like a ghost, turning their desperate assault into a series of brutal, bone-crunching impacts. It's not a fight, it's a massacre. One devastating kick sends a man flying, followed by a whirlwind of strikes that leave the guards broken and scattered across the floor. X is a force of nature they can't hope to stop. With a final violent fling, X slams the leader into the wall. He grips the man by the collar, his voice dropping to a chilling whisper. He claims to be in a good mood, but the look in his eyes says something entirely different. The remaining attackers are paralyzed by fear, their resolve crumbling as X systematically dismantles them. Every strike is a reminder that they picked the wrong target to provoke. As the dust settles, X looks down at the defeated man, a seed of doubt planting itself in his mind. In the original game, this man wasn't nearly this dangerous. He has to wonder, did his decision to protect Alice change the very fabric of this world's destiny? A commotion draws attention, and a high-ranking noble arrives to find the room littered with unconscious bodies. X remains unfazed, coldly noting that some people are simply beyond reforming. But then a chilling discovery is made. A mysterious drug named after the organization Prometheus. It grants unnatural strength, but at a horrific cost: addiction and hallucinations. The conspiracy is far deeper than anyone imagined, a request X never wanted to hear. While he only cares about the time he spends with Alice, the royal authorities have other plans, demanding his help to wipe out a growing plague in the land. The Knights, X is a rising legend, a one-man army taking down illegal organizations. But he doesn't care for the glory. He'll play the part of the secret hero only if it means building a shield of popularity to protect Alice. But the mission takes him far from home. The focus shifts to the Salvare Kingdom, a prosperous nation of fishing and trade that is now teetering on the edge of total instability. The situation is dire. With the previous king assassinated and the new prince struggling to hold the reins, illegal trafficking is skyrocketing. And pulling the strings from the shadows? A mysterious organization known as Prometheus. There is no arguing with a royal directive. X is ordered to depart for Salvare, leaving behind the peace he's fought so hard to build for a journey into the unknown. The objective is clear. Trace the drugs and kill the import routes. But the strategy is unexpected. He's encouraged to court the local princesses to gather intelligence. Driven by his desire to protect his country, X agrees to do whatever it takes, and then he meets them. Minaria Salvare, the poised first princess, and her timid younger sister Cynthia, two royals caught in the middle of their nation's crumbling peace. X tries to keep a low profile, but his reputation has already crossed the border. The rumor of the knight who saved a frail duchess from an evil prince has spread, much to the annoyance of his companion. Trying to steer the conversation away from the gossip, the blonde man turns his attention to the shy Cynthia. A gentle touch and a soft word are the only things keeping the nervous princess from collapsing. A delicate game of diplomacy begins. As the blonde man suggests taking their time to get to know one another, it becomes clear that X is the key piece in this political puzzle. The atmosphere is thick with a strange tension as Prince Rince and Cynthia share a moment of unexpected closeness. Alice watches from the side, her expression a mix of confusion and disbelief. Something is shifting in the royal dynamics. Without a hint of hesitation, the prince drops a bombshell, inviting Cynthia to his own country as a consort. It's a bold, public move that leaves Cynthia completely stunned, rewriting the rules of their engagement on the fly. But while the prince plays his games of the heart, X is focused on a far more dangerous objective. He has a message for the king, and he's not planning on wasting a single second. As his companions joke about love at first sight and the whims of political marriage, X can only look on with a deadpan stare. He knows that in this world, love is often just a mask for a much more sadistic game. The real battle, however, is fought in the shadows. A plan is set. Use the evening party as a cover to gather intel on the mysterious Prometheus and dismantle the source of a deadly drug trade. X is confident. Danger doesn't scare him when he has a reason to return. He'll tear through any opponent in his way, because his only priority is getting back to Alice's side as quickly as possible. With the suspicion that corrupt nobles are fueling this illicit trade, the stakes have never been higher. The time for planning is over. Now the stage is set for the evening party. Far away, King Gil Salvare of the Kingdom of Salvare pens a letter with a calculated smile. He promises a small gift for the festivities, but his words carry a weight that suggests something far more ominous. The king's interest isn't just political. He's eyeing X, remembering the legendary skill of the boy's father, Vector. A predatory smirk crosses his face. He's anticipating a very enjoyable night of chaos. The ballroom erupts in chatter as the guests gather for a night that promises to be unforgettable. X and Alice stand together, radiant and resolute, unaware that they are walking straight into the center of a brewing storm. The atmosphere is electric as the royal announcement echoes through the hall. Princess Cynthia Salvare is officially engaged to Prince Rince Landry. While the crowd erupts in a frenzy of excitement, X remains focused, his eyes scanning the room for a specific target mentioned by his informant. He finds his mark in Count Fredette. Under the guise of a polite introduction, X probes for information, but the Count is far too comfortable, boasting about his new business ventures, and casually mentioning that he's attending the event alone. Politeness vanishes in an instant. With a gaze like ice, X delivers a chilling ultimatum. Withdraw now for the sake of your family or your life ends today. The Count is blindsided, outraged by what he perceives as utter nonsense. X turns away, the cold reality setting in. Persuasion has failed. As he glances back at the royal dais, his expression hardens. The time for talking is over. Meanwhile, in the shadows of the docks, the Count is finalizing a shady transaction with a mysterious mercenary. He's confident, believing the chaos of the engagement announcement has provided the perfect cover for his crimes. But the cover is blown when S strikes like a bolt of lightning, sending the mercenary flying with a single brutal blow. He mocks them with a smile, asking if they really thought he was just some harmless noble kid. The air grows heavy with killing intent. X doesn't care about their status or their threats. He only cares that these pests are wasting precious time he should be spending with Alice. He gives them one last chance. Disappear. They didn't listen. In a blur of motion, X unleashes a devastating onslaught of kicks and punches, dismantling the thugs with terrifying efficiency. It's not a fight, it's a slaughter. The Count tries to flee. X is already there, blocking his path with a predatory grin. Terrified, the Count finally realizes who he's dealing with. This is the son of the legendary Hercules. But as a new mysterious figure mentions Prometheus and the influence of Viscount Lost, X is left wondering how deep this conspiracy goes. He doesn't have time to think, though, as the remaining enemy lunges at him in a desperate, final dash. No more talking. With a blur of motion, X shuts down the conversation with a brutal precision strike. He isn't looking for an apology. He's looking for results. One devastating blow, and the fight is over. As his opponent hits the dirt, X's mind drifts to the only two walls he's never been able to break through. His father, Mobius Lost, and the elusive Prometheus. The weight of a lifelong rivalry looms over him, but X has other priorities. Forget the nemesis. He just wants to be back in the arms of his Alice. His efficiency doesn't go unnoticed. Having dismantled the Prometheus drug ring, X finds himself standing before Prince Rince Landry, who is more than impressed by the feat. A title, power, a place in a foreign kingdom. It's an offer most would kill for. But X doesn't blink. His heart belongs to someone else, and no amount of prestige can compete with his beloved fiancée. With his duties concluded, X doesn't waste a single second. He bids a polite farewell and vanishes in a flash of speed, leaving the nobility in his dust. He isn't just traveling, he's sprinting. Every heartbeat is a countdown until he can see her again. When he finally bursts through the doors, he leaves the household staff absolutely speechless. Alice can't believe her eyes. He was in another country, yet here he is, standing before her as if he never left. He doesn't care about the logic of his speed, he only cares that she's finally within reach. The distance was simply too much. In a sudden, desperate embrace, the walls come down. Alice admits how lonely she was, and X holds her tight, confessing that even a single day apart felt like an eternity. Lost in each other, the rest of the world simply fades away. X has a mountain of things to tell her about his journey, but for now those words can wait. Some things are better expressed in the silence of a caress. The wait is finally over. X returns to the one person who truly understands him, pulling Alice into a warm, desperate embrace. In this moment, the noise of the world fades away. There's only the two of them. But as they travel, the whispers of the court follow them. Rumors of Prince Rince's engagement swirl, and for a fleeting second, a flicker of doubt crosses Alice's mind. Could the allure of foreign princesses have swayed X's heart? X catches that look instantly. With a confident smile, he shuts down every doubt, making it clear that no one in any kingdom could ever compare to her. He finds her subtle jealousy not annoying, but absolutely adorable. He can't help himself, teasing her with a playful squish of her cheek that leaves her completely flustered. But once the laughter settles, the mood shifts. X has something important on his mind. Something he needs to discuss only with Alice. They begin to talk about the unthinkable, their wedding. While X considers the grandeur befitting their status, Alice's wish is far simpler. She doesn't want a political spectacle. She just wants to marry him not as a noble, but simply as a woman. Her raw honesty hits X like a tidal wave. Overwhelmed by her devotion, he pulls her close, knowing that he's found something far more precious than any title or crown. He's found his home. But the peace is short-lived, as X is summoned before the king. His victory over Prometheus and the securing of the import routes haven't gone unnoticed, and the crown is ready to honor its newest hero. The king sees a future for X in the spotlight, urging him to embrace the fame and power he's earned. But X has a different kind of reward in mind, the simple luxury of being left alone to live his own life. The king's vision is grand, intending to make X and Prince Rince the two pillars of the nation. But X isn't interested in being a political figurehead. He makes a request that leaves the room stunned. Give the throne to Prince Rince. It's a bold, almost reckless move. But X has it all planned out. He doesn't want the crown. He wants the sword. By pushing Rince toward the throne and aiming for the position of Knight Commander himself, X is carving out a path where he can protect the kingdom and the woman he loves. Imagine being handed the keys to the kingdom's military power on a silver platter. The offer is staggering. X is granted the honor of creating his own order of knighthood and leading it as commander. But for a man who just wants a quiet life with the girl he loves, this isn't a gift. It's a burden. He doesn't hesitate to decline. But the crown doesn't take no for an answer. The plan is far more calculated. X will join the regular knights, while a secret independent order is established as the country's ultimate trump card. Essentially, he's being asked to build a private army. X can already feel the headache forming. Then comes the real reason for this sudden promotion. The target? A shadow known as Prometheus. X tries to distance himself, claiming he was merely following orders in his previous clashes, but the command is absolute. Whether he likes it or not, he is now the spear pointed at Prometheus's heart. A tense standoff turns into a negotiation. The official frames the new order as a reward, but X knows how to play the game. If he's doing the heavy lifting, he wants a real prize. The deal is set. Gather a team by graduation, and the crown will handle the politics. Still, X can't help but wonder why he's always the one stuck with the trouble. As X is ready to walk away, the official drops the ultimate bait. The promise of the finest wedding dresses in the land. Suddenly the mental scale shifts. The weight of responsibility is heavy, but the image of Alice in a perfect gown? That's a temptation he can't ignore. When is sealed. As long as this new duty doesn't steal a single second of his time with Alice, and as long as the salary is decent, X is in. Duty 1, but only because love provided the incentive. Back in the halls of the academy, the whispers have already. A peer approaches. X yerks, bringing news of his recent success capturing bandits while searching for Prince Rince's fiancée. X remains indifferent, but the conversation is about to take a sharp, dangerous turn. One name. That's all it takes to shatter X's composure. Do you know anyone named Prometheus? The question hits like a physical blow, sending a jolt of alarm through him. He demands to know where that name came from, and the answer is chilling. Bandits weren't just criminals, they were heralds. They spoke of Prometheus as the mastermind behind the chaos, and they called X's father Hercules. The realization sinks in. This is the monster from the past, the one man his father could never defeat. Memory haunts the Knight Commander, a battle where he almost claimed victory, only to be utterly crushed. He survived not through skill, but because the enemy found him entertaining. As X listens to the story of his father's greatest defeat, his fist clenches. The cycle of failure ends here. The Knight Commander is ready to stake everything on one final battle, even offering his position to his son. But X can't just let his father walk into a death trap. In a world governed by game logic, this reeks of a death flag. While his father laughs off the danger, X knows the truth. This enemy is something far more dangerous than a simple rival. A one-armed man wielding black flames. This isn't just a fight, it's a clash against an anomaly capable of using multiple magics, a feat that defies the laws of their world. But there's something even more unsettling. The man talks to himself, as if sharing a conversation with a ghost, or perhaps, absorbing the power of others to fuel his own. X makes his choice. If the cost of victory is his father's life, then he'll be the one to step onto the battlefield and crush the enemy himself. Amidst the tension, a reminder of what truly matters. To be a knight is to protect, and the Knight Commander makes it clear. The greatest failure would be bringing tears to the eyes of the woman he loves, because for X, the stakes are higher than honor or duty. He is Alice's knight, and he will rewrite any tragic destiny to ensure she never has to know the pain of loss. Back at the academy, the atmosphere has shifted. Every eye is on X, but the humble hero just brushes it off, redirecting the spotlight to Alice's effortless charm. The truth begins to leak out. Word of X's secret war against traffickers and dark organizations is spreading, turning the unpopular side character into a legend. The praise is overwhelming, but X carries the burden in silence. He'll fight the darkness alone, keeping the horrors of the world far away from Alice's sight. The rumors are spreading fast, and Alice isn't letting X off the hook. She confronts him about challenging dozens of armed men with nothing but his bare hands, refusing to believe his claim that he isn't doing anything dangerous, especially since her own brother was there to witness the chaos. But X isn't looking for fame or the title of a school legend. In his heart, he doesn't want the world's applause. He only wants to be Alice's personal hero. Yet seeing the genuine worry in her eyes, he realizes the weight of the risk he's taking. He tries to reassure her, pointing out that his actions actually saved people. But Alice isn't thinking about the masses. She's thinking about him, and the terrifying possibility of what might happen if he pushes himself too far. That fear triggers a dark echo from X's past. He remembers the cruel whispers, the labels of monster cast upon his father and now himself. He knows the world sees him as a beast in the making, but for Alice, he's willing to endure any stigma. In a moment of raw vulnerability, X pulls her close and makes a vow that binds their fates together. He will never leave her side. As Alice flusters under his intensity, X accepts his nature. If being a monster is what it takes to keep her safe, then he'll embrace it fully. The time for hesitation is over. With a gaze of absolute determination, X resolves to exert every ounce of his power to protect the woman he loves. Because for Alice, he will become the strongest shield in existence. A new chapter begins, and with it, a new kind of tension. Amidst the blooming flowers of the garden, Alice drops a bombshell that catches X completely off guard. She wants him to meet her parents. X is eager to go, but the stakes are higher than a simple introduction. This is a conversation about their future, specifically the prospect of Alice becoming the wife of the House of Lost. It's a dream come true, even if the thought of his own parents makes him slightly nervous. Alice reveals that she's already spent a long time dreaming of a future with him, her heart racing as she admits she's imagined all the things she wants to do once they're married. X is completely floored, his heart swelling at her unexpected boldness. He starts imagining their perfect newlywed life together. But then his thoughts take a very specific, very degenerate turn. One mental image of Alice in a naked apron is all it takes for X's composure to completely snap. Imagine a world where the roles are reversed, where the gentle Alice becomes the possessive captor, chaining X to her side with a gaze that says he'll never leave. For X, this isn't a nightmare, it's a dream. The thought of a yandere Alice, claiming him forever, sends a thrill through him, but as reality snaps back, he sighs. With a heart as pure as hers, such a dark obsession is probably impossible. Unable to help himself, he poses a hypothetical. What if they were married tomorrow? Alice's reaction is immediate. A soft blush and a confession that she'd be overjoyed, even if she wants to savor these moments as fiancés just a little longer. Her genuine eagerness to join his family and become his wife is almost too much for him to handle. Looking at her innocent smile, X can't help but feel a twinge of guilt for his evil fantasies. But as the topic shifts to his parents, a different kind of possessiveness takes over. X is confident in their love, yet the mere idea of his own father getting too close to Alice makes his skin crawl. It's a strange, swirling haze of jealousy that even extends to his own mother. His solution? A sudden, daring move. If they just act more lovey-dovey, maybe the rest of the world will know exactly who she belongs to. The air thickens with tension as he pulls her close, whispering the words that anchor their entire world. Alice, I love you. And in the warmth of his embrace, she gives him the only answer that matters. A romantic bubble bursts as they finally come face to face with Lord Vector and Lady Makina. The Knight Commander's welcoming smile and praise for Alice's beauty signal a victory X had long hoped for. With grace and poise, Alice steps forward, formally announcing her engagement to Lord X. Every word is a nail in the coffin of the tragic fate that once awaited her. Even Lady Makina is surprised by the speed of the proposal, wondering if X was a bit too aggressive. But Alice's honest admission, that she simply loves him, leaves no room for doubt. They aren't just rewriting a story, they're building a future. The pressure is on. X's mother isn't just welcoming Alice. She's preparing her for the role of a lifetime, becoming the daughter-in-law of the House of Lost. While Alice trembles with nerves, the woman of the house wastes no time in asserting her authority. But beneath the polite tea and pleasantries, there's a hidden edge. Makina knows exactly how to handle the men in her family, and she's not about to let Alice go into this relationship blind. Some secrets, she warns, are better left untold. With a mischievous glint in her eye, Makina drops a truth bomb about X. He's the type to carry the world on his shoulders in secret, and Alice is the only one who can stop him from overdoing it. Now, it's time for the ultimate lesson. And then comes the secret weapon. A single devastating question that can bring any man of the lost bloodline to his knees. X is absolutely horrified by the revelation, but for Alice, it's a tactical game changer. But there's a heavier weight to this legacy. For generations, the men of this house have been consumed by the thrill of battle, sometimes to the point of abandoning their own women. The torch is now passed to Alice. She is the anchor that must pull X back from the battlefield. The bond is finally sealed with a simple, heartwarming request. Call me mother-in-law. In that moment, Alice isn't just a guest. She's officially family. X can finally breathe, though he looks completely drained by the experience. As the carriage pulls away, the adrenaline fades, leaving Alice in a state of quiet reflection. She's still nervous, but for the first time, that fear is outweighed by a profound sense of acceptance. Back in the quiet of their own company, the tension melts into pure devotion. Alice vows to become a bride worthy of him, but X only has eyes for the girl she already is. A soft nuzzle, a shared breath. The world outside simply disappears. A tender moment, a sudden snap back to reality. X notices the change in her energy immediately. Alice is glowing, her mood lighter than he's ever seen it, and he can't help but wonder what's crossing her mind. For Alice, this wasn't just a meeting. It was a breakthrough. She finally feels like she's moving forward, but as she looks at X, a new weight settles in her heart. He's given her everything, and she's desperate to finally find a way to give something back. Alice's kindness is overwhelming, and X can't help but feel that anything she does for him is a reward. But as he gazes at her, his thoughts drift toward a future they might share. Specifically, the names of their future children. Wait, did he just say that out loud? In a flash of imagination, he sees a beautiful daughter and a cool son, only to be brought back to reality by a sudden hit of insecurity about his own looks. But Alice isn't having any of it. With a blush and a gaze full of adoration, she declares that X is exactly like the prince on a white horse from a fairy tale. Seizing the moment, X takes her hand and makes a solemn vow. No matter the trouble, he'll always be the prince who comes dashing to her rescue, even if he admits the delivery might be a little awkward. The sweetness of the moment fades as a formal letter is dispatched to the residence of Viscount Lost. The butler assumes it's for Sir Vector, but the destination is far more specific. This message isn't for the head of the house. It's addressed to X, calling him back into the fold of his family's legacy. Stepping into the estate, X is greeted by the imposing presence of Mobius Lost, his grandfather. It's been a long time, and the air is thick with unspoken expectations. Mobius has heard the rumors of how much his grandson has changed. As they discuss X's plan to join the Knights after graduation, a realization hits. It's already been half a year since the night he proposed to Alice. 6 months of absolute chaos and bliss. From passionate moments with Alice to crushing the game's tragic flags and surviving the Prometheus conspiracy, X has lived a lifetime in a few months. But his nostalgia is cut short by a direct question. Mobius doesn't beat around the bush. After questioning X's affinity for children, he drops a bombshell of a request. He needs X to teach a group of kids. X is determined to protect his time with Alice, but his grandfather has a different agenda. A casual conversation about engagement quickly shifts toward a more mysterious topic, the potential of the children around them. The old man sees a hidden strength in X that surpasses even the most elite knights. He urges X to share his secrets, unaware that he's poking at a truth that could change everything. Then, the bomb drops. With a piercing, knowing gaze, the grandfather asks the one question X never expected. Has he experienced a different world? X freezes. Does this man actually know about the reincarnation? Just as the panic reaches a breaking point, the grandfather pivots, asking for a favor that only X is capable of fulfilling. Reluctantly agreeing to the terms, X is presented with a mysterious gift. It's not just a weapon, it's a legendary blade. Named Zero, this family treasure possesses the terrifying ability to nullify all magic. It's a weapon far too precise for X's clumsy father, making X the only suitable wielder. But Zero isn't just a tool, it feeds on the owner's heart. As X thinks of Alice, the blade erupts in a violent surge of energy that leaves everyone in the room breathless. Pressure is overwhelming, yet the sword feels lighter than air in X's grip. It's responding to his devotion, transforming his love for Alice into raw, tangible power. After a heartfelt moment with his grandfather, X accepts the legacy. But the training doesn't stop there. It's time to put his skills to use for a new generation. Now stepping into the role of sensei, X meets Manaka and Ria. Both girls are struggling, terrified of a magic they can't control, and they're pinning all their hopes on him. Enter Gulliver, a teacher whose youth belies his reputation. But as the group discusses the terrifying potential of hypnotic brainwashing magic, X decides that theory isn't enough. To truly master such a power, they need a real-world application. With a confident smirk, X offers himself as the guinea pig. The air grows heavy as the hypnotic spell is cast, the swirling patterns pulling him deep into a trance. It looks like the magic has taken hold, but in this world, appearances are everything. Just as the spell should have peaked, X snaps back instantly. Hypnosis is useless against him, and before the students can even process the shock, he strikes. A blur of motion that leaves them reeling. This isn't just a demonstration. It's a lesson in limits. X pushes them to exhaust their magic, forcing them to face the wall of their own current abilities. Now it's Gulliver's turn to step into the ring. The terms are simple: raw combat, no magic allowed. X stands relaxed, almost bored, while Gulliver explodes forward with a desperate high-speed dash. He's putting everything into this first strike, a thunderous impact, or so it seems. Gulliver's fastest kick is blocked with effortless precision. The gap in their skill is a canyon, and X isn't just defending. He's dissecting Gulliver's every flaw in real time. It's a slaughter. Even as the students try to intervene with magic, X nullifies everything without breaking a sweat. He is an immovable fortress, leaving Gulliver gasping for air and utterly defeated. Frustration boils over into tears, but X doesn't offer pity, only a cold reminder that this level of struggle is where growth begins. Faced with the choice to quit or suffer, Gulliver clenches his fist. He refuses to back down. Driven by pure willpower, Gulliver launches one final, sliding assault. X watches with a glimmer of approval. This is the spirit he wanted to see. He encourages them all to push harder, to use every tool in their arsenal. The dust settles, leaving Gulliver completely spent but strangely invigorated. He's lost the fight, but he's found a new goal: to one day actually land a hit on the man who stands above them all. X plays the part of the dutiful noble, offering thanks for the support, but his mind is already miles ahead. Behind closed doors, he's meticulously charting a path for Alice's growth, calculating every strength and weakness to ensure she's never vulnerable again. He's not just protecting her. He's preparing her for a fight she doesn't even know is coming. But the weight of the distance is starting to take its toll. In the quiet of his room, the silence is deafening, and the longing for Alice's voice becomes an ache he can't ignore. He needs more than just letters. He craves a connection that transcends the physical gap between them. That's where this comes in. A carefully crafted token of affection, a pendant born from his own hands and hopes. As he envisions Alice standing alone in the moonlight, a flicker of doubt crosses his mind. Will she cherish this gift, or will it be too much? Meanwhile, Alice is drowning in that same longing. Standing on the balcony, she's caught in a whirlwind of anxiety that even her maid, Maria, can't help but tease. The cold night air is nothing compared to the emptiness she feels whenever X is out of sight. Maria tries to snap her out of it, reminding her that a little beauty sleep is essential if she wants to look her best for him. And for the first time, the feared Villainess isn't thinking about status or power. She just wants to be cute for the only person who truly loves her. Two hearts separated by walls and duty, both counting down the seconds. As the moon watches over the silent academy, only one thought remains. Let tomorrow come faster. Finally, the reunion happens. Over tea and sweets, the tension melts into a sweet domestic curiosity as Alice discovers a side of X she never knew. A gentle teacher to the local children. But as the conversation drifts, a shadow of insecurity creeps back into her eyes. The fear of the unknown is a cruel thing. Despite her absolute trust in X, the mere thought of him with other girls sends a chill through her. She hates this fragility, this sudden vulnerability that only he has the power to trigger. But X doesn't let her spiral. He meets her gaze with an unwavering intensity, validating her feelings and reminding her that his heart belongs to her and her alone. And he has a surprise that's about to silence every doubt. Close your eyes, he whispers. With a gentle touch, he places the handmade pendant around her neck, a piece of his heart forged into jewelry. Now as she opens the locket, the real secret is finally revealed. A small token of affection, but it carries a weight that leaves them both breathless. Alice discovers a portrait of X tucked inside a pendant. A silent promise of connection even when they are worlds apart. Not a one-sided devotion. X reveals he carries her image as well, a talisman that keeps him grounded and comforted. He's hesitant, fearing his intensity might be too much, but the air between them is already electric. Alice's heart swells, the cold walls around her spirit continuing to crumble. But as she examines the jewelry more closely, she finds something more than just a picture. Something carved into the very metal. X pledges eternal love to Alice. Those few words hit her like a tidal wave, leaving her completely flustered. But X isn't done yet. He has a secret of his own to share. His pendant mirrors hers, a matching vow of eternal love. X admits his fear of overstepping, but Alice's reaction is far from negative. Overwhelmed with happiness, she decides it's time to give something back. Utterly captivated, practically losing his mind over how cute she is. Alice wants to return the favor, but she has one specific question on her mind before they move forward. She gives him her full trust, promising to do anything he asks. X has a very specific vision in mind for her. And 1 week later, that vision becomes a reality. The result is breathtaking. Alice appears in a stunning kimono from the Eastern lands, a garment as exotic and elegant as she is. For X, it was a simple request, but the impact is anything but. He can't take his eyes off her, mesmerized by how her charm transcends any style of clothing. But as the moment lingers, Alice begins to wonder, if this look works for her, wouldn't it work for him too? X claims he only cared about seeing her in it. But Alice has other plans. In a flash of playful determination, she turns the tables, and suddenly X finds himself draped in the same Eastern elegance, completely defeated by her charm. X has a surprise for Alice, presenting her with a stunning white dress. He's convinced it's a classic look that would suit her perfectly. But the real surprises are only just beginning. Then comes the real shocker. Alice is absolutely flustered, calling the outfit lewd, while X simply explains its purpose with a playful smile. The tension spikes when Alice asks if he's interested in her skin. X doesn't even hesitate. He drops the box in a clatter just to tell her that of course he is. He closes the distance, his gaze intense as he tells her that everything about her is of interest to him. Alice is completely overwhelmed, her heart racing at his sudden boldness. She tries to play it off, asking if he's thinking about something lewd. X turns the tables, claiming their future isn't about that, though he admits he can't always help his thoughts. He confesses just how much she occupies his mind, leaving Alice to wonder if she's somehow disappointed him. But X is quick to shut that doubt down with a firm denial. In a rare moment of vulnerability, Alice shyly admits she's had those same thoughts about him. It's the confirmation X wanted, and he holds her close, radiating happiness. But the romantic atmosphere is cut short by a suspicious maid. She's caught on to X's secret route for acquiring kimonos, and she's not letting it go without answers. The maid's curiosity leads to a bold declaration. X doesn't hide his feelings anymore. He proudly proclaims that he and Alice are in love, leaving no room for doubt. Yet, beneath the sweetness, the danger of the game's destiny lingers. X asks about any strange activity in the world, entrusting the maid to watch over Alice while he's away. Romantic tension is reaching a breaking point, and the staff can't help but notice. X is completely head over heels, admitting he just wants to be more lovey-dovey with Alice. But a lingering question remains. Does she truly feel the same way? The answer comes in the most intimate way possible. A secret confession whispered in the depths of sleep. Hearing that Alice passionately loves him even in her dreams sends X into a total meltdown of joy and disbelief. Now that he knows the truth, X's imagination goes into overdrive. He's already plotting every possible excuse, from sudden storms to blocked roads, just to find a way to cuddle up with her, though his transparent expression gives his schemes away instantly. But beneath the daydreaming lies a fierce protective streak. X makes it crystal clear to the maid. He's counting on her, but if anyone dares to lay a finger on Alice, he won't hesitate to draw his blade. As they part ways, the maid drops a cryptic hint about a story that's become an overnight sensation. X brushes it off with indifference, unaware that this fiction might be mirroring his own life more than he thinks. Curiosity eventually gets the better of him, but the maid isn't giving up the secret that easily. With a single teasing jab and a smug smile, she leaves him completely bewildered and searching for answers. Away from the political storms of the academy, X finds a different kind of peace. Acting as a teacher to local children, he's seen not as a weapon of the kingdom, but as a kind mentor they've come to trust. Of course, kids are naturally curious, and they quickly pivot to the topic of his love life. But when they suggest his fiancée might be as muscle-headed as he is, X has to provide a little comedic discipline to set the record straight. His gaze softens as he thinks of Alice, declaring her the best fiancée he could ever have. The children are floored by his devotion, noting that his love is almost like the legendary characters in a popular new tale. The story is an eerie reflection of reality. A knight who saves a noblewoman from a prince's unjust betrayal to make her his own princess. It seems the world is finally starting to recognize the legend X is writing with his own hands. A fairy tale or a warning? X listens as the children chatter about a story of an evil prince and a frail duchess. But as the words sink in, a chill runs down his spine. This isn't just a story. It's the very tragedy he's fighting to rewrite, and it's already become common knowledge. He can't help but wonder how deep these roots go. With a playful yet daring smirk, X drops a bombshell on his students. He's actually stolen a fiancée before. The kids are floored, unable to reconcile this confession with the man they know as their teacher. He doesn't hold back, admitting he took Alice right from under the prince's nose to make her his own. The children are absolutely spellbound, whispering in awe at the sheer boldness of their mentor. One of them can't help but wonder, just who is this mysterious woman? When curiosity peaks when one student notices a glint of silver around X's neck. He reveals a locket pendant, a simple accessory designed to hold the image of the person most precious to the wearer. He clicks it open, revealing Alice's breathtaking image. The children are silenced by her beauty, but the moment of peace is short-lived. X's expression shifts, and he delivers a cold warning to a boy named Gulliver. When it comes to Alice, he becomes utterly reckless. The atmosphere turns heavy as X makes it crystal clear. If anyone even thinks about touching Alice, he won't hold back. Terrified by the sudden intensity of their teacher, the kids scramble to promise they'll never dream of interfering with his fiancée. But the fear quickly turns back to admiration. Knowing X is destined to become the next knight commander, one boy is struck by a sudden realization. He doesn't just want to learn from X, he wants to serve under him. The sentiment spreads like wildfire, with the other students eagerly raising their hands to join his future ranks. X looks at their earnest faces, a soft smile appearing as he promises to keep their ambition in mind. He challenges them to prove their resolve by honing their skills, promising a place by his side if their fire still burns in adulthood. Inspired and energized, the kids vow to give everything they have to reach that goal. But, while he's building a future for his students, X is planning something even more special for his own. Now focused on the ultimate symbol of their bond, he works with the finest tailor in the land to ensure Alice's wedding dress is nothing short of perfection. Who knew the son of the knight commander had a hidden talent for fashion? X leaves everyone stunned with his dress designs, proving he's far more than just a swordsman. Even Prince Rince is impressed, but X remains humble, knowing that perfection is a long way off. Driven by a desire to be everything Alice deserves, X asks the royal himself, how does one become a true prince? Rince laughs it off, claiming X is already unconventional enough, but in his own mind, X sees a very different reality. While Alice envisions him as a fairy tale prince on a white horse, X knows the truth. He's more of a chaotic force of nature when he's in the saddle. Still, he's determined to bridge that gap, even if it means taking lessons from the real prince. But the lightheartedness fades as the conversation shifts to the crown. The king is pressing for the establishment of a new knight order, and Rince makes it clear. X's existence is far too significant to be ignored by the throne. In a moment of sheer desperation to avoid royal obligations, a wild idea strikes X. Why not just start his own country? But the thought is discarded as quickly as it arrived. He refuses to burden Alice with the suffocating role of a queen. Giving Alice's genuine smile is all the motivation he needs. He won't let political games interfere with her newfound happiness. Surprisingly, Rince doesn't mock the idea of a new nation. Instead, he offers his full support. Rince claims he's too weak to stop his friend's ambitions, though X knows exactly what kind of black-hearted calculation is happening behind that smile. Their banter is cut short, however, as a glance at the clock sends a jolt of panic through X. Alice's class is about to end, and X is already halfway out the door to meet her. But Rince isn't finished yet. He stops him with a request that sounds simple, but carries a weight X can't yet see. A visit from Cynthia for a pre-engagement announcement is on the horizon, and Rince wants X to act as their bodyguard. X is skeptical. Why risk a friend when the royal guards are already on duty? The answer comes in a chilling whisper. Magic users are being targeted in a series of secret attacks. X immediately suspects a connection to the mysterious Prometheus. And suddenly the political games feel far more dangerous. Realization hits him like a ton of bricks. He's not just a side character. He's a target. X is spiraling, wondering why he keeps getting dragged into one disaster after another. He wants out. He wants a quiet life away from the chaos. But when it comes to Alice, he can't just stand by. With a determined grit, he accepts the role of her bodyguard, knowing he's the only one she can truly trust. His eye turns a bruised gray, and the rain begins to fall in a steady, oppressive rhythm. X watches the storm roll in, praying that for once the world will leave them in peace. But the peace is shattered. Out of the deluge, a hooded shadow strikes with lethal precision, sending a man flying through the air in a spray of rainwater and blood. Speed beyond human limits. The victim barely has time to process the horror before a blade flashes, and a scream of pure agony rips through the rainy streets. A chilling smile, a flash of lightning, and a cold-blooded victory. As the hooded figure stands over the fallen, it's clear that a new, terrifying player has entered the game. While darkness looms in the alleys, the world of the nobility remains blissfully ignorant. Inside a lavish carriage, Prince Rince and his companion are already dreaming of a perfect, curated future. The talk of weddings and romance is sweet, but X isn't listening. His instincts scream danger, and in a blur of steel, his blade is drawn before the others can even blink. The air is thick with a hidden threat. X senses a magical residue, wondering if this is the work of the elusive magic hunter that Rince had warned him about. But he has a secret weapon, a family heirloom capable of erasing magic itself. As long as his heart remains unshakable, X is no longer the prey, he is the ultimate shield. X carries a weapon designed for one thing, to kill those who wield magic. But for him, power is meaningless unless it serves a purpose. His only true mission? To protect Alice with everything he has. Even Prince Rince has noticed the strange bond forming between them. While X tries to play it cool, Rince is leaning into it, hoping the two of them can actually become best friends. It's a rare moment of peace, a glimpse of a friendship that should have been impossible in the original game. But the conversation is interrupted when Rince remembers a lingering question. Enter Cynthia, the second princess of the Salveri Kingdom. She's captivated by the stories she's heard, and makes a bold request. She wants to meet the woman who captured X's heart. While seeing no malice in her eyes, X agrees to the meeting. He trusts that Cynthia won't bring any harm to Alice, setting the stage for an encounter that could change everything. The moment finally arrives. Alice and Cynthia meet face to face, and despite the royal titles, they quickly move past the formalities, agreeing to speak as equals. But Cynthia isn't just here for tea and pleasantries. She admits the real reason for her visit. She simply had to see the person X speaks of with such unwavering devotion. It turns out, their engagement has become legendary, spreading far beyond their own borders. Intrigued, Cynthia presses Alice for the truth. Did she love X from the start, or was it the confession that won her over? Cynthia's curiosity is borderline intense, leaving Alice a bit overwhelmed. Sensing the pressure, X steps in with a playful warning, telling the princess not to bully his fiancée too much. X is genuinely shocked to find out how famous their love story has become. With a sheepish grin, he apologizes for keeping her in the dark, admitting he only stayed quiet because he didn't want to embarrass her. For the first time, the mask is slipping. A close friend notices something different about X, a natural, genuine smile that only ever appears when Alice is by his side. But the conversation quickly shifts to the royal scandal of the season. The sudden engagement between Alice and Prince Rince has left everyone reeling, and the prince himself is curious about the trigger that sparked it. The prince admits his confession was bold, a public spectacle designed to claim her. But in the eyes of those watching, it doesn't even come close to the raw, unfiltered boldness X has shown in his devotion. Even as the prince notes their growing closeness, X doesn't hesitate to draw a line. He has no interest in royal friendships or social climbing. His heart belongs to Alice, and Alice alone. A single piece of jewelry says it all. Alice reveals a precious pendant from X, a token to keep them connected when they're apart, leaving everyone swooning over a romance that's rewriting the very rules of their world. The sweetness of the tea party fades as reality sets back in. The magic hunters didn't strike this time, but the threat is still there, lurking in the shadows. To protect their future, X realizes he needs more than just his own blade. He needs an army. And so, the recruitment begins. X gathers a group of talented children. But when he invites a certain older peer, the reaction is immediate. Insulted at being grouped with kids, Fan is quickly put in his place with a brutal truth. In terms of actual ability, he's the most useless one there. Confused and wounded, Fan demands to know why he was even invited. The answer is simple, if a bit insulting. X needs one adult to act as the designated teacher for the group. The children are skeptical, questioning if this loud-mouthed man is really fit to lead them. X defends the choice, citing Fan's patience, though it's clear that patience is about to be tested. Naturally, Fan's ego takes over, attempting to assert dominance over the kids. Before a full-blown brawl can break out, X has to step in and play mediator, marking the chaotic start of his new Knight's Order. X isn't just playing the game anymore. He's rewriting the rules. He announces the formation of a brand new Knight Order, sanctioned by the king himself, specifically designed to handle the dangerous threats of Prometheus. But with power comes a heavy burden. Despite his own immense strength and mastery of magic, X refuses to let these innocent students walk blindly into danger. To them, he's more than a leader. He's the teacher they trust with their lives. The enthusiasm is contagious, and even the most reluctant allies find themselves drawn in. Bound by a debt of honor, the final pieces fall into place, and the order is officially complete. With the military front secured, X can finally turn his attention to the one thing that truly matters. The political war is one thing, but securing a future with Alice is the only victory that counts. Woman's a life of peace, rings, vows, and a wedding that erases every tragedy of the original story. But while X dreams of love, a darker plot is unfolding in the shadows. A target has been marked, the orphanage in the Lost Viscounty. Cold cash changes hands as a mercenary is hired for a brutal job. The trap is being set, but X is already 3 steps ahead, preparing to lure the enemy right into his grasp. Away from the looming threat, X brings Alice to a quiet, breathtaking church. In this moment of serenity, the girl the world called a villainess finally lets her guard down, overwhelmed by the simple joy of a future together. X can't help but beam with pride. In his eyes, she is the most beautiful woman in existence. Their arrival is warmly greeted by Sister Rebecca, the gentle soul who tends to the sanctuary. Local children are instantly smitten, their innocent curiosity bringing out a soft, radiant side of Alice. And when they remind her just how loudly X proclaims his love for her, she can't hide the blush. They don't need a grand cathedral or royal fanfare to make it official. For X and Alice, the humble beauty of this church is perfect, because the only thing that truly matters is that they have each other. A rare moment of peace, but the air is thick with curiosity. As X and Alice visit a quiet sanctuary, the innocent questions of the children bring a sudden, pointed focus to their relationship. One little girl asks the question everyone's been wondering. Is the villainess really X's fiancé? A question that sparks a deeper conversation about love and destiny. X explains that while some find love first, others find it in the most unexpected places, even with a complete stranger. His words carry a weight that goes beyond a simple explanation. Then comes the most important question of all. Are you happy? Alice's response is a radiant, heartfelt smile. She's not just happy, she's happier than she ever thought possible. But the tranquility is shattered. X catches a sound from outside, a disturbance that immediately puts him on high alert. With a calm but firm demeanor, he tells Alice to stay put while he goes to investigate. The warmth vanishes instantly, replaced by a cold, protective intensity. X warns the nun to keep the children inside before stepping out into the open. He finds a group of thugs causing a scene, and he is not in the mood for their games. As it turns out, this wasn't a random encounter. X realizes the attackers used the priest as bait, hoping to lure him out into the open. But they made one fatal mistake. They underestimated who they were dealing with. The motive is as disgusting as it is simple: money. The thugs plan to kill the priest and sell the children and the woman into slavery. X listens to their vile plan with a look of pure disdain, wondering if they're actually brave enough to stay and fight. They try to play it confident, flashing a blade with a smirk. But before they can even register his movement, X strikes. A single devastating blow sends the first attacker flying. While it's not a fight, it's a slaughter. X dismantles them with surgical precision, snapping their weapons like twigs and delivering bone-shattering punches that leave the thugs screaming in agony. The ground is littered with the defeated, but X's eyes are already scanning the area. He realizes one person is still missing. He slams the final thug into the dirt with a thunderous crash, then calmly dusts off his clothes, as if he'd just finished a light stroll. The ground shatters as the attacker is sent flying, his body crashing violently into the debris. He gasps in pain, struggling to even move, whilst X just stands there, his voice cold and curious. So, you can use magic? The man struggles to breathe, realizing he's been completely outclassed. He recognizes the muscle enhancement, but this is something else entirely. This isn't the power of some noble brat. It's the strength of a monster. The attacker, X, has become a nightmare. But X remains unfazed, his expression distant. He isn't looking for a fight, but he won't be lenient after seeing the devastation left behind in this place. Desperation takes over. Even knowing it's a pointless struggle, the man lunges forward for one final hopeless strike. He's gambling everything on a single desperate move. Over in a heartbeat, X catches the attack with terrifying ease, redirecting the momentum and slamming the man face first into the dirt. The impact is absolute, leaving him broken in the dust. A heavy silence falls over the ruins. As the dust settles, X looks down at the fallen man, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. Did he push too hard? Did he forget to hold back? Tension finally breaks as Rebecca and the others rush in, frantic and worried. The danger has passed, and while the gratitude begins to flow, X remains as humble and detached as ever. But for Alice, the victory is bittersweet. Watching him, she can't help but wonder why the world is so cruel to him, why he's always the target of such hatred. Unable to hold it in any longer, she throws herself into his arms. Tears stream down her face as she apologizes for the worry. It's a moment of pure, raw emotion, totally ignoring the defeated man on the ground who finds their sudden display of affection absolutely repulsive. That's when Alice finds her voice. She screams at the man, refusing to let anyone call X a monster because he is far too important to her. As X speaks of his power and his principles, Alice can only look at him with utter devotion, cold, calculating, and absolutely brutal. He looks this man in the eye and delivers the ultimate truth. At their core, they are both just villains capable of tearing others down without a second thought. Alice tries to scream him down, desperate to defend the man she loves, but he silences her with a single heavy command. But the moment the tension breaks, the ice melts. Alice's voice trembles as she thanks him for fighting for her, confessing that he is the most precious person in her world. A soft smile plays on his lips as he clasps her hand tight, whispering the words she's been longing to hear. He knows he's a mystery, possessing a power that sets him apart from everyone else. Yet in Alice's eyes, he isn't a weapon or a monster, he's just himself. That's why he loves her. That's why he'll do anything for her. In a moment of pure cinematic bliss, they lose themselves in each other. For him, Alice is more than a partner. She is his strength, the spark that makes him feel invincible. While others look on in envy at their unfair perfection, the world around them simply disappears. But romance is a luxury that doesn't last when family duty calls. He stands before Duke Misty, the air thick with unspoken history. It's been a long time, but the mission is clear. He's here to win a battle of wills. The Duke doesn't mince words. He wants to know exactly what this visit is about. He doesn't hesitate, dropping a bombshell of a request that changes everything. He wants the wedding with Alice to be held in his own territory. Alice is stunned, but the decision is final. They've planned this together, envisioning a small, intimate ceremony far from the prying eyes of the court. When the Duke asks which nobles will be attending, the answer is a sharp, sudden silence. He's inviting none of them. The Duke is livid. To him, marriage is a political tool for power and connection, not some childish game of sentiment. But he's underestimated the company his son keeps. Because what happens when your close friends are the very people who will one day rule the nation? The trump card is played. Prince Rince and Princess Cynthia will be there. The Duke's face goes blank as he realizes the sheer scale of the influence his son has quietly amassed. The power dynamic in the room shifts in a heartbeat, and the final blow? The venue isn't a palace. It's the Bremen Church, a place that doubles as an orphanage. While the Duke is left reeling in shock, there's no denying the truth. Alice's kindness is a force of nature that even the coldest hearts can't ignore. X isn't just claiming his love. He's marking his territory. With a bold declaration that leaves Alice breathless and the room stunned, he makes it crystal clear. She belongs to him and him alone. While the mother-in-law finds the passion amusing, the father is left reeling in a mix of disbelief and annoyance. He can't wrap his head around how his son, who is so guarded with him, can be this unapologetically intense with another person. But X doesn't stop there. He leans in, silencing any doubt with a promise of eternal devotion, reminding Alice that while others may be beautiful, she is the only one who holds his heart. Then comes the moment that seals everything. A simple, piercing "I love you" that echoes through the room, met with an equally heartfelt confession from Alice. It's a level of romance so overwhelming, it practically knocks the father out of the conversation. With the blessing secured, the mood shifts. X pulls his father aside for a private word, and the conversation quickly turns from romance to danger as the mention of magic hunters and recent attacks looms over them. X is determined to protect Alice's happiness at any cost. The venue is set, the permissions are granted, and now only one thing remains to make the day perfect: the wedding dress. But for X, good enough isn't an option. He examines the finest fabrics available, yet his expression remains cold. This isn't the quality his bride deserves. The shopkeeper insists it's the highest quality they can offer, but X isn't buying it. He demands something far rarer, the legendary White Emperor silk, a rare creature with a limited habitat nearly impossible to find. But as a confident smirk plays on his lips, X decides he won't leave the dress to chance. He'll get the silk himself. And so, the refined Lord X finds himself in the dirt, battling insects he absolutely loathes. He'll endure any disgust for the sake of Alice's dress, but just as he secures his prize, a mysterious voice calls out to him. A man is running for his life, a dragon hot on his heels, and yet, the man standing right there is completely unfazed. The beast itself is almost offended by his lack of reaction. This whole mess started with a simple mission, catching White Emperor silkworms. But for one unfortunate soul, it's turned into a living nightmare, while everyone else just watches the chaos unfold. Our protagonist decides it's finally time to step in, but not for the reasons you'd think. He's not worried about the monster. He's worried about the other man's pride. And, in a blur of motion, the dragon strikes. But instead of a massacre, there's a sudden, jarring halt. With a single hand, he catches the massive claw mid-air. Total disbelief. He doesn't just stop the attack. He lifts the entire creature like it's a disobedient puppy, leaving the dragon completely bewildered. Problem solved, he claims with a casual thumbs up. While others are baffled by his lack of lethality, he reveals the truth. The dragon wasn't hunting. It was protecting its family. A moment of quiet realization. Whether human or beast, the instinct to protect those you love is a universal language that transcends species. With the tension broken, the focus shifts back to the task at hand. A little nudge about the dress he's making for someone special. And suddenly the grumpy assistant is back on board. Mission accomplished. The silkworms are gathered, and the group shares a moment of gratitude. But as the work ends, a new question arises. Wedding rings are next on the list. While the others assume they'll just buy them from a shop, a mischievous glint enters his eye. Because why buy jewels when you can mine them yourself? Bandits in the mine? X is caught completely off guard, but the real shock comes when he's presented with a shimmering stone. A diamond. But something about it feels off. No ordinary gem. This is a rare variety from a hidden mine on the border, a treasure waiting to be claimed. But there's a catch. The land is now infested with second-rate bandits. The offer is simple. Wipe out the criminals and the glory of the discovery belongs to him. While others see power and politics, X sees something far more precious, the perfect stone for a wedding ring. He's in. He doesn't care about the mine itself, but for the woman he loves, he'll do whatever it takes. He just needs an appraiser and some muscle to ensure the job is done right. With a confident smile, he hands the sample back to the jeweler. The mission is set and the goal is clear. An exceptional ring for an exceptional woman. The journey begins. Rattle and hum, the carriage carries them toward the border. Along for the ride is Luther, a skilled appraiser who is absolutely floored. Why is someone of X's status even here? The atmosphere in the carriage is light, but the mission is serious. They're heading into enemy territory to seize control of the mine. And X is more than ready to lead the charge. Amidst the planning, a moment of rare vulnerability emerges. The high-ranking noble admits that true friends are hard to find, but X is the exception, an irreplaceable companion in a world of fake smiles. Almost refreshing how honest X is about his desires. Luther is baffled, wondering how one man could go to such extreme lengths, fighting bandits and claiming mines, just for his fiancée. Then comes the answer, delivered with a look of pure, unwavering devotion. It's because I love her. A simple truth that leaves everyone speechless, proving that for X, no obstacle is too great. It starts with a confession of devotion. A man opens up about a childhood friend who is a chaotic contradiction, quick to fight, yet fragile enough to break. He knows she's clumsy, but that's exactly why he feels he must always be by her side. This isn't just a crush, it's a life goal. He's determined to become independent just so he can protect her forever. With the encouragement of his peers, he finds the confidence to chase that dream. But the warmth of that conversation vanishes, as the scene shifts to a rattling carriage. They're closing in on bandit territory, but Luther notices something unsettling. The security is far too light. It's almost like a trap. The air grows heavy with anticipation. While his companion admits he's no match for Luther's skill, the warning is clear. Stay back and stay safe. The real danger is just a few steps away. The moment they step out, Luther's instincts scream he spots them. 5, maybe 6 enemies lurking in the brush. Before he can even react, a lethal arrow whistles through the air, aimed straight for his heart. But Luther is on a different level. With a blur of motion, he catches the arrow mid-flight and deflects the rest with effortless precision. He isn't even worried. He's actually impressed by the quality of the weapon. Then, the counterattack is instantaneous. In a whirlwind of steel and speed, Luther tears through the ambushers, leaving them groaning in the dirt before they can even process what happened. The hunter becomes the prey. Luther looms over a survivor, his voice cold as he demands the location of the hideout. One look at the blade is all it takes for the man to break and beg for his life. While analyzing the arrowheads, Luther realizes they're made from local ore, but his attention is quickly diverted. Standing among the ruins of the ambush is a young girl, her arms crossed and her eyes burning with a fierce, stubborn rage. The shock hits him. The leader of this band is just a kid. Luther offers a simple deal: surrender and you won't be hurt. But pride is a powerful thing, and with a scream of defiance, the girl chooses to fight. His corpse is piled high, and in the center of the carnage, he stands there, casually dusting himself off. The sight is enough to drive anyone insane, and the bandit leader is reaching her breaking point. In a desperate, magic-fueled surge, she lunges at him with everything she has, screaming for him to stop messing around. But her attack is nothing more than a toy to him. With a lightning-fast grab and a brutal flip, he pins her to the ground in an instant. As he looks down at her, a smirk plays on his lips. He's seen through her secret. A poison user. How interesting. He doesn't just defeat her, he dismantles her. He points out how rare it is for a child to lead a gang, and how her poisoned arrows are a dead giveaway of her magic. She's trapped and terrified, snapping at him to let go. But he's just getting started. Then comes the offer she can't refuse. He tells her to become his subordinate, promising jobs for her entire crew if she complies. It sounds like mercy, but the cold look in his eyes says otherwise. This is a proposal of goodwill, and the alternative is a pile of bodies. Driven to total desperation, she screams that he can do whatever he wants with her body just to save her people. But the response is a flat, crushing rejection. He has absolutely no interest in her, because in his heart, there is only room for one woman, his angel, Alice. The reason for this entire slaughter? He was simply gathering materials for a wedding ring. The absurdity of it is suffocating, but the ultimatum is clear. Surrender now, or her comrades die. With no other choice, she finally breaks. Tears of frustration and fear blur her vision as she begs for the lives of her friends. She accepts the leash, pledging her loyalty to the man who just crushed her world. He smiles. The deal sealed in a moment of absolute submission. Just like that, the fierce bandit leader is now nothing more than a subordinate. While she reels from the shock of his monstrous nature, he declares his eternal devotion to Alice, only to be corrected by a companion who reminds him exactly who he actually belongs to. With the hideout secured, the new management takes over. He offers the remaining bandits a chance at redemption, telling them to work off their sins. And to keep things running, he appoints a man named Luther Kuhn as the new leader. He even suggests a romantic future for Luther, proposing he move in with his lover and open a shop nearby. It's a strangely generous offer, but as the others look on, one question remains. Can you ever truly trust a pack of bandits? The tension is suffocating. The prince offers a choice, his voice calm but carrying an edge that warns against any mistake. But the real game is just beginning. A brutal ultimatum: lifetime servitude or immediate death. The bandits don't even hesitate. They break instantly. With their leader held hostage, they have no choice but to obey every single word. Among the wreckage, a new asset emerges. A former bandit and a master of poison. A dangerous talent that the prince is more than happy to recruit. Now it's time for a formal introduction. Ontalion isn't exactly the obedient type. She treats the prince with a blatant lack of respect, completely unaware that she's talking to royalty. The shock hits her like a physical blow when the truth finally comes out. Who is this man? A monster who can dismantle an army of 100 men single-handedly. He wears a smirk as he reveals his true identity, the son of the Knight Commander. The scene shifts, and the new allies are introduced. But not everyone is welcoming. To some, Talion and the children look like nothing more than a joke. Judging by appearances is a dangerous mistake. In a blur of motion, the prince silences the critics, proving that power doesn't always come in the package you expect. The lesson in humility is swift and painful. Talion is horrified. Making children fight? It's madness. But the reality is even more absurd. These kids possess a magical strength that puts grown men to shame. Then comes the revelation that leaves everyone speechless. Talion is 20 years old. Just as the shock settles, the atmosphere shifts from combat to comfort with a tray of homemade cookies. A simple treat is enough to soften the mood. But the mystery remains. Talion looks at the group, wondering how anyone could possibly be a student of a monster like him. He's strong, he can cook, and he's practically perfect in every way. But while the crowd swoons, one man isn't buying the act. He looks at the situation with a cold eye, demanding to know exactly why they're even here. The answer is simple: a debt that must be repaid. As the conversation shifts to status and wealth, the truth comes out. He's a baron's son, though he seems more concerned with the immediate problem. He's left wondering what his next move should be. The answer comes with a chilling proposition. He doesn't want her for company. He wants her skills, espionage, poisons, and a set of hands and feet to do his dirty work. The girl can only stare in disbelief. She jumps to the most obvious conclusion. that he's after her body, but he just laughs in her face. With a brutal honesty that stings, he dismisses the idea, calling her chest nothing more than a sheer cliff. But the banter ends as the focus shifts to something far more serious, the wedding. Church reserved. Dress, ready. Rings, set. Now, only one detail remains, the guest list. He considers the names, but a sudden wave of possessiveness hits him. He doesn't want just any eyes on Alice when she's in that dress. The invitations can wait. He has a more important errand to run. He marches straight into the heart of the kitchen, seeking one man in particular. The atmosphere shifts instantly as the head chef, Kazdas, turns around. One look from the man is enough to make anyone freeze. Despite the terrifying exterior, Kazdas is a legend, a former top-tier chef to royalty. Ex-Sama has known him since he was a boy, and despite the scary face, there's a deep bond of respect here. He doesn't want the prestige of a royal chef for his big day. He wants Kazdas because Alice loves his cooking. It's a gesture of pure devotion, leaving the stern chef completely floored. Most noble weddings are just displays of power and politics. But this is different. This is about a love that puts Alice and him at the center of everything. With a sincere smile, he asks for one last favor to make the day perfect. A wedding is on the horizon, and the kitchen is about to explode with passion. Kostas, a chef of unmatched intensity, is determined to make this celebration legendary, vowing to put every ounce of his effort into the feast. X can only look on, thanking him as the pressure begins to mount. But the main course isn't the only thing on the menu. X steps up to handle the cakes and desserts, a welcome break from the endless fighting he's been forced into lately. For Alice, he'll make everything perfect, even calculating the calories to ensure it's just right. Such talent doesn't come from nowhere. And Kazdas is desperate to know the secret. X plays it cool, claiming he just studied a little, but the truth is far more complex. It's a skill carried over from a past life, a secret he's not ready to reveal. The realization hits Kazdas like a ton of bricks, but not in the way X expected. Overcome with raw emotion, the chef breaks down in tears, moved by the growth of the boy he's known since childhood. X is left standing there, completely bewildered by the sudden outburst. In the wake of the chaos, a rare moment of serenity settles in. X looks at the warmth around him and feels a deep, aching desire to leave the trouble behind. He just wants to settle down and live a peaceful life, a life spent entirely with Alice. But the dream of peace is interrupted by a face from the past. Standing before his grandfather, X puts on his formal mask, the atmosphere shifting instantly from warmth to cold formality. The conversation starts with polite inquiries and talk of zero, the surface of a deep and complicated relationship. They sip their tea in a fragile silence, until the grandfather decides to move past the pleasantries. The topic shifts to the magic hunters, predators who target those with power. X is already aware of the horror. Those they attack don't just lose a fight, they lose their magic entirely, without exception. But something doesn't add up. Why leave the victim seriously injured but alive? X wonders if it's a cruel display of dominance, or if there's a more sinister reason why their magic vanishes. As the grandfather reveals his sources, the pieces finally click into place. The truth is far worse than a simple attack. These aren't just erasing magic, they're stealing it. A shadow is spreading across the lands, and it's a nightmare that defies logic. Enemies are appearing out of nowhere, targeting the isolated and the alone, leaving countries in a state of panic. X suggests using decoys to lure them out, but the reality of the situation is far more sinister. But X can feel it, a cold shiver of dread. Just as his grandfather prepares to make a request to deal with this threat, X cuts him off. He already knows where this conversation is heading, and he doesn't like it one bit. The guess is as bad as the reality. X is to be the bait. His grandfather doesn't mince words. Among all the nobles, X possesses the most potent magic, making him the perfect target for a monster that hungers for power. This is a gamble with everything on the line. While X's primary drive is to keep Alice safe, his grandfather drops a bombshell. He himself cannot defeat this enemy. Now the burden of victory falls entirely on X's shoulders. The target has a name, Predator. He is a force of nature, a monster that the grandfather believes only X has the strength to bring down. The mission is simple: capture him, or be consumed. But the Predator has a fatal flaw. He steals the powers of others to make them his own. But X possesses a weapon that defies the laws of magic. His sword, Zero, can nullify everything, making him the only man capable of turning the tide. Then comes a revelation that shakes X to his core. There is another named Prometheus with similar powers, a being so terrifying that even his legendary grandfather once ran away in fear. The goal is to capture the Predator alive to learn how to return the stolen magic. But the risk is astronomical. The final order is grim. Safety comes first, and if the situation turns deadly, X is authorized to kill. As he leaves the room with the weight of the world on him, his father is waiting in the hall, sensing the tension in the air. The name Predator carries a weight that transcends generations. His father recognizes the name instantly, realizing that X has been chosen for a suicide mission. He tries to stop him, but some paths must be walked alone. The danger is absolute, and the enemy is like a god of destruction. But as X accepts the cloak and prepares for the hunt, his eyes harden with a fierce determination. He has no intention of losing, a gift of power, but it comes with a heavy warning. The dark-haired man receives a magic-enhancing accessory, a tool to push his physical and magical limits beyond the norm. Don't die, the older man commands, for Alice's sake as well. A simple yeah is all he gives, but the weight of that promise settles deep in his chest, because he has something precious to protect. He isn't just fighting for survival anymore, he's fighting for Alice's safety. Mercy is no longer an option for anyone who dares to harm her. As he steps forward, the air grows cold, and the confrontation begins. And then, he meets the predator. A hooded figure looms in the shadows, questioning his lineage and mocking his lack of cuteness. The tension is suffocating as the mysterious enemy tries to peel back the layers of his identity. But the predator isn't who he expected. The hood drops to reveal a woman with a haunting, wide-eyed smile and a gaze that screams instability. A revelation that shifts the energy of the encounter in a heartbeat. He expects him to flinch, to be repulsed by her appearance. But he remains completely unmoved. To him, her face is irrelevant. The only thing that matters is whether she is an enemy who intends to steal what is most important to him. Intrigued by his resolve, she offers him a place in her twisted collection. He shuts her down without a second thought. He already belongs to Alice. But the woman's smile only widens as she speaks of a goal far more sinister than simple collection. Her target? Prometheus himself. The revelation hits like a physical blow. She isn't an ally of the enemy. She's a rogue element with a bloodthirsty agenda, and the shock is written all over his face. The reason is a nightmare draped in romance. She claims to love Prometheus with all her heart, and because of that love, she wants to kill him, just to keep him forever. He looks at her and realizes the terrifying truth. She is completely, utterly mad, a lover's dream, or a monster's obsession. He reflects on the twisted nature of her desire, and contrasts it with his own love for Alice. He doesn't want a frozen eternity. He wants a living legacy, a future where their love connects to the generations to come. The woman thinks they share a common bond, but he rejects her distorted philosophy with everything he has. He chooses a breathing, hopeful future with Alice over a dead eternity. In his mind, he sees it clearly. A family, a child, and a love that becomes truly eternal through life, not death. Love? This isn't love. It's a hunger. With a manic glint in their eyes, the white-haired youth reveals a terrifying desire, viewing others not as people but as a source of nourishment. The stakes are absolute. Win or lose everything. The youth refuses to run, vowing to turn the black-haired man into fuel for their own twisted feelings, while the man prepares to crush that resolve completely. A blur of motion erupts. The youth strikes with blinding speed, but the man is a wall of precision, dodging and countering every desperate swing with cold efficiency. The man is shaken. Was that teleportation magic? The youth only laughs, revealing a lethal arsenal of multiple magic types and a blade coated in deadly poison. And the world explodes in a roar of flames. A massive blaze erupts, threatening to consume everything in sight, proving the youth has one more devastating ace up their sleeve. But the man has a trump card of his own, a sword capable of nullifying magic itself. Steel clashes against steel in a grinding screech of metal, as the two collide in a final desperate struggle. Just as the man gains the upper hand, the unthinkable happens. The weapon suddenly liquefies, splashing across him in a confusing, chaotic surge that leaves him completely off guard. The youth admits defeat, but the man is finished playing games. He charges forward, smashing through the liquid barrier with a single, powerful dash to end the fight right here. Caught in a grip of iron, the youth is completely immobilized. The man demands a quiet surrender, but the youth's eyes still burn with defiance, vowing to struggle until the very end. But that struggle takes one last lethal form. In a sudden sickening flash, a blade sinks deep into the man's side, a final desperate strike that changes everything. Blood sprays and agony screams as the blade sinks deep, but the attacker is smiling. For the predator, this pain is a game, until a sudden, violent surge of magic erupts, blowing everything back in a blinding flash. The truth comes out. This is possession magic, a parasitic attempt to steal a superior body. The predator thinks the victory is already won, but a single, crushing blow shatters that delusion instantly. In the heat of the struggle, faces from his past flicker through his mind. Their voices plea for his safety, urging him not to be reckless. He can't fail now. He has to return to Alice's side, no matter the cost. Silence falls over the battlefield, broken only by the sound of heavy, ragged breathing. The enemy lies broken and defeated, but as the dust settles, a cold realization sinks in. Things just got a lot more complicated. Later, the adrenaline fades, replaced by the disbelief of his comrades. Rince can hardly wrap his head around the victory, staring at the man who just took down a legendary predator. Then, with a casual flick of his wrist, a pillar of fire blazes into existence. A hypothetical question about multiple magic types becomes a terrifying reality, leaving Rince wondering if the world is about to end. The explanation is as chilling as the power itself. By using body enhancement magic to literally erase the enemy's consciousness, he didn't just stop the possession, he hijacked it. But the victory came with a permanent price. A fragment of the Predator now lives within him, granting him the power to steal magic, and the stolen legacies of over 500 victims. The sheer volume of power is unnatural, a psychic weight that should be impossible for any human to bear. Rince's warning is clear. A mind cannot hold that much darkness without breaking. He hides the struggle behind a confident smile, claiming he's got it under control. But deep down, he knows the truth. He was already called a monster, and now, he's drifting further away from humanity than ever before. All secrets, lies, and a power that defies nature. A hushed warning echoes. Keep tonight's events hidden from Alice and Lady Cynthia at all costs. With the Predator finally dealt with, the focus shifts back to the wedding, but some questions still linger in the air. He knows the path ahead is riddled with issues, but for now, graduation and the wedding take priority. Even his companion is stunned by his achievements, though he brushes the praise off with a sharp retort. But there's one final task. A report to his grandfather. The meeting is formal, the atmosphere heavy with expectation. His grandfather wants the truth. Does he truly possess the Predator's power? The answer is a simple yes. No side effects, no bodily changes, just raw, inherited strength. But that strength came from a nightmare. He recalls Prometheus, a monster with a will so unshakable it terrified even the strongest men in his lineage. He won the fight, but now he has to wonder, can he truly handle the weight of this burden? He asks for his grandfather's thoughts, expecting a lecture or a nod of approval. Instead, he gets a death threat. In a flash of blinding speed, the old man lunges, shattering the peace of the room in a violent blur. Clash. Steel meets steel in a desperate struggle for survival. The attack was sudden, lethal, and aimed straight for the throat, forcing a split-second reaction. The dust settles, and the grandfather is actually smiling. He's impressed by the reaction speed, even if he took a small cut in the process. It's a twisted kind of love. A test of survival that leaves the grandson questioning if his family is completely insane. It reflects on the stark difference between his father's kindness and this brutal reality. But the verdict is in, and it's undeniable. The student has surpassed the master. He is now overwhelmingly stronger than the man before him. Humility doesn't work here. His grandfather reveals the terrifying truth. He is a genius of intellect and talent. But that combination, paired with the Predator's power and zero, is a recipe for a global catastrophe. A heavy silence fills the room. He doesn't deny the danger he poses. The potential for immortality and absolute power is right there for the taking. But he doesn't want a throne or an eternal empire. His only goal is simple, to live out his life with Alice. A simple dream, to live a normal life and grow old with Alice. For X, that means one thing. His devastating power must die with him. But as his grandfather asks about a future wedding, the weight of that choice begins to settle in. The answer is a definite yes. And the grandfather offers his full support. But support comes with a warning. No matter the intention, the world is cruel, and many will never understand the path he's chosen. He knows the truth. This kind of power makes him a target, a beacon for those who would seek to eliminate him. He can't let Alice be dragged into that darkness. He'll protect her, even if he has to do it from the shadows. Then comes the morning, bathed in a soft, peaceful glow. A simple good morning from Alice is enough to make him realize how much he cherishes these quiet moments. After so many battles, the mundane has become a luxury. But the peace is broken by a sudden movement. X catches Alice's hand, his eyes locking onto a tiny cut on her finger. She brushes it off as a mere paper cut, but to him, any injury to her is a crisis. A sudden flash of light, and the wound vanishes. Alice stares in shock, healing magic. It's a new side of his power, a way to protect her that doesn't involve destruction. The moment is sweet. Until Alice's intuition kicks in, she knows that look. With one pointed question about his recent recklessness, the romantic atmosphere shatters, leaving X flinching in guilt. Her voice trembles with a fear he can't ignore. She begs him not to overdo it, terrified of what might happen to him. Unable to find the words to soothe her, he silences her worries with a deep, lingering kiss. He promises her that he will always return, no matter what. He wants her to believe in him, even as he whispers a dark truth to himself, that there's no point in worrying about a monster like him. Despite everything, Alice still cares for him with a purity that leaves him breathless. As he reminds her of her tea meeting with Lady Cynthia, he makes one thing clear. The moment she's done, he'll be right there waiting. Imagine having a direct line to the person you love, no matter the distance. With a simple demonstration of telepathy magic, he opens a private channel directly into Alice's mind, leaving her absolutely breathless. It's a small gesture, but for Alice it's a dream come true. She's overwhelmed with joy, while he simply smiles, more than happy to indulge her every whim. But as the school year winds down, a deeper longing surfaces. They both admit their selfish wish to always be together, just as they step away from the academy for the last time. Their time as students is ending, and their engagement is reaching its peak. Hand in hand, they walk toward a future where they'll never have to say goodbye again. Meanwhile, the clash of steel marks the end of an era for the boys. With graduation looming, the conversation turns to the secret way he's been staying connected to Alice. Most, such power would be a tool for conquest. His friend jokes about world domination, but for him, the only world that matters is the one he shares with her. But peace is often a prelude to duty. Between training sessions, the reality of the future sets in, a royal wedding and a sudden abdication that changes the fate of the kingdom. A crown for one and a sword for the other. As Rince prepares to become the youngest king in history, the black-haired boy is handed a responsibility he never sought. He didn't want the title, he just wanted to prove himself. By avoiding shortcuts and crushing every mission, he's accidentally become the new vice captain of the Knights. But when you're at the top, everyone wants a piece of your shadow. As he tries to rush back to Alice, his classmates swarm him, desperate to serve under the man who's already conquered the academy. X isn't just a student, he's an icon. His peers don't just respect him, they crave his guidance, desperate to walk the same path as the man destined to be the future Knight Captain. But as the rumors of his immediate promotion to vice captain swirl, X remains completely unfazed. While the world sees a rising star, X has a much more personal agenda. Sure, he'll streamline the work and cut the waste, but his real priority? A lovey-dovey life with Alice. Even when his friends tease him about his overwhelming popularity, he doesn't care. To him, the admiration of others is meaningless. Whispers of other girls mean nothing. He can hear them, see the passionate looks they give him, but it's all background noise. In his eyes, no one else even exists as a woman, because his heart is already completely occupied by Alice, unapologetic about his devotion. Why would he waste a single drop of affection on anyone else? To X, loving Alice isn't just a choice, it's his absolute freedom, and he intends to exercise it fully. Pure, absolute. That's the extent of his world. But as a peaceful afternoon tea unfolds, the conversation shifts toward the horizon. Graduation is tomorrow, and the clock is ticking toward a new chapter. The whole year has vanished in the blink of an eye, leading them to this moment. The day after tomorrow isn't just another date, it's their wedding. When Alice asks if he has any regrets about choosing her, his answer is instant and unwavering. He wants no one else. But as the reality of the vows sinks in, a flicker of anxiety clouds Alice's expression. Are these the infamous marriage blues? Sensing her turmoil, X doesn't say a word. He simply pulls her into a protective embrace, promising that everything will be okay. He holds her close, his voice a low, steady anchor in her storm. He promises to protect her no matter what happens in the future. Alice claims she isn't scared, but the hesitation in her voice tells a different story. She feels like she's trapped in a beautiful dream, wondering if she's truly the right one for him. But X shuts down every doubt with a gaze of pure conviction. He doesn't love her in spite of who she is. He loves her because she is Alice. And that is the only reason that matters. Looking back, the past year has been nothing short of a miracle. From the simple joy of street food to the weight of a wedding ring, a first love that once seemed impossible has finally come true. It all feels like a dream, but this time, they're waking up together. A future promised, a life shared. He leans in close, his voice a low murmur, as he tells her that everything is only going to get better from here. The dream of marriage and living together isn't just a fantasy anymore. It's a reality they're finally stepping into. Air thickens with a sudden electric tension. A blush creeps across her cheeks as he whispers the things he's been longing for. Like the simple, intimate act of sleeping by her side. In this moment, the rest of the world simply fades away. But for Alice, the dream isn't just about passion. It's the quiet, everyday moments. The welcome home after a long day, the shared meals, the simple joy of just being together. It's a longing for a normalcy she's finally found in his arms. 3 words that change everything. I love you. As she whispers them back, he reflects on the short, precious years of their youth. A fleeting time that forged a bond deeper than any they've ever known. One last embrace to engrave these memories into their hearts, before the chapter of the academy closes forever. But the bittersweetness of graduation is interrupted, as they step back into the light, facing the crowd and the expectations of their status. Enter Prince Rince, a friendly face amidst the chaos of the ceremony. While the party swirls around them, a realization hits. This is the final day they'll exist as mere students, and as fiancé. The conversation turns to family, and the mood shifts. Rince mentions a brother who refused to attend, prompting a cold, sharp reminder that some people only find redemption through hard work after the wreckage they've left behind. He's not just protecting her heart, he's guarding her peace. He reveals he's already ensured his father won't be at the wedding, knowing exactly what seeing that man would do to Alice. With a final nod, he prepares to move through the crowd, but there's one last thing to say. A moment of genuine respect between two men. Rince acknowledges the bond they've built over the past year, a friendship forged in the fire of their shared experiences. They agree to keep looking out for one another, no matter where the future leads. Alice watches them, noting how well the prince understands him. He might agree, but she has the final word. With a playful, knowing smile, she claims her territory. She's the only one who truly knows him best. Are you jealous? A simple question, but the answer sparks something deeper. A tight squeeze of the hand says more than words ever could, sealing a bond that's only growing stronger. But as the clock ticks down, a bittersweet realization sets in. Tomorrow their world changes forever. The era of being fiancés is ending, making way for a new permanent bond. The celebration of their graduation arrives, a moment of shared triumph. Amidst the flowers and cheers, they exchange congratulations, their eyes locked in a silent promise. And just like that, another chapter closes. Alice and her partner step out of the academy and into the unknown, leaving their student days behind. Night falls, and the silence of the bedroom becomes deafening. With the wedding only hours away, the weight of the future keeps him awake. He can't stay away. Not tonight. A whispered conversation, a confession of restlessness. He doesn't want to spend these final hours alone. With a flash of magic, the distance between them vanishes in an instant. He appears before her, a sudden presence in the quiet of her room. The surprise is brief, replaced by the comfort of his arrival as he settles beside her on the bed. He pulls her close, feeling the tremor of her anxiety. He knows her better than anyone. The hidden fears, the quiet doubts. Tomorrow, everything becomes official. The vulnerability finally spills out. Alice wonders if she's truly the right one for him. But he cuts through the doubt with 3 simple, powerful words. I love you. He doesn't just want her love. He wants her truth. He asks her to lean on him, to be completely honest, no matter how messy the emotions. Because in his eyes, there is nothing she could do that would ever make him hate her. One sudden movement, and the world tilts. He swoops her up without warning, leaving her breathless and completely caught off guard. Stay still, he commands, his gaze locking onto hers with an intensity that makes her heart race. He gently lowers her onto the bed, but there's a playful, dangerous edge to his voice. He reminds her a secret wish, a dream she once confessed about sleeping by his side. Now that dream is becoming a reality, and she can barely find the words to respond. He rolls closer, pulling her into a tight, protective squeeze. He promises that tonight will be for rest, but tomorrow he intends to shower her with all the love he's been holding back. The warning is clear. She needs to be ready for it. The tension is overwhelming, her heart hammering against her ribs. He reaches for her hand, offering a touch to ease her anxiety, though he knows exactly the effect he's having. She calls him unfair, but the truth is, she doesn't want him to stop. In the quiet of the night, she finally lets the happiness wash over her. A soft peck on the cheek, a whispered, "Good night, Alice," and she drifts off into a peaceful sleep, knowing she's exactly where she belongs. The sun rises on the most important day of their lives. He sits at the breakfast table with a confident smirk, the excitement finally bubbling over. It's finally here, the wedding day. His family can't help but tease him, recalling how he almost let a mission distract him from his own nuptials. But his response is simple and honest. He just wanted to make her his as soon as humanly possible. A moment of rare, quiet reflection settles over the table. There are smiles, soft words of growth, and a deep sense of gratitude. Everything has led to this moment. Outside the church, the atmosphere is electric with anticipation. Dressed in a pristine white suit, he looks every bit the groom, radiating a calm confidence as the guests begin to gather. Surrounded by the warmth of his family, his mind is on only one person. "And Alice?" he asks, his eyes searching. And then, as if on cue, a glimpse of white lace appears. She's here, and the wait is finally over. The moment they've both been waiting for has finally arrived. Dressed in pure white and radiating elegance, Alice stands before her groom, the air thick with a tension that only true love can create. One look is all it takes. The groom is completely breathless, his heart racing as the crowd whispers in admiration of how stunning the pair looks together. But for him, the world has narrowed down to just her. More than just jewelry. It's a promise. This piece is a symbol of their unbreakable bond, a treasure as valuable as the wedding rings they are about to exchange. Now it's time to step forward into their new life. Vows are spoken, the atmosphere electric. When asked if he'll spend his life with her, ex-Lost doesn't even hesitate. "I do." A simple answer, but one that carries the weight of a lifetime. Then come the rings, crafted with an effort that mirrors his devotion. As he asks if she has any regrets, Alice's answer is unwavering. As long as she's with him, she'll go anywhere. Ring slides into place, sealing their fate forever. "I love you so much." Those words linger in the air, leading them toward the final, most anticipated vow of all, a single, breathtaking kiss. In this moment, the noise of the world fades into silence, leaving only the two of them. The celebration erupts. Surrounded by friends and laughter, the joy is palpable. Even Rince can't help but be struck by how absolutely stunning Alice looks as a bride. Every stitch of her dress is a testament to his love. As Rince looks at them, he feels a deep sense of peace, knowing that seeing them together like this is the greatest happiness of all. But not everyone is keeping their composure. While the newlyweds share their first moments of marriage, the groom's father is absolutely losing it with emotional sobbing. Some call it sentimentality. X just calls it noisy. A father's warning is never a joke, and for X, the stakes have never been higher. While Alice tries to play it cool, the air is thick with the weight of a protective parent's ultimatum. Yet, amidst the tension, the cheers of his students remind him that he's not just a groom, he's a hero in their eyes. But any lingering dread vanishes the moment Alice steps into the light. She is a vision of absolute perfection, leaving every guest in a state of pure awe. Even X's students can't help but marvel, realizing their teacher has found someone truly extraordinary. The grand celebration eventually winds down, and the crowd fades into the background. With a gentle word from the staff, the world shrinks until it's just the two of them. Finally, the noise of the wedding is replaced by a heavy, expectant silence. The door clicks shut, and suddenly, the atmosphere shifts. Alone in the bridal chamber and dressed for the night, Alice feels a wave of nervousness crash over her. She whispers his name, her heart racing as she waits for what comes next. X enters, and the air between them practically crackles with electricity. Alice can barely look at him, her face flushing a deep crimson as she clings to him for support. They sink onto the bed together, the reality of the moment finally hitting them. He reaches out, his touch soft and comforting as he strokes her hair. Alice admits her fear, but X reveals a truth that catches her off guard. He's just as terrified as she is. For all his confidence, this is a new world for him too. As the adrenaline fades, Alice lets the memories of the day wash over her. She thinks of the dress, the tuxedo, and the warmth of everyone's blessings. It was a whirlwind of emotion, and now, she only wants to give that happiness back to those who supported them. They drift into a quiet conversation about family and the future, but one thought keeps looping in Alice's mind. She looks at her ring, the weight of it feeling real for the first time. She isn't just Alice anymore. She is officially X's wife. X pulls her close, his gaze burning with a fierce, unwavering devotion. He vows that he will never let her go, promising a lifetime of togetherness. Tears prick Alice's eyes as she whispers her own promise to stay by his side forever. In a deep, desperate embrace, the long-awaited dream finally becomes a reality. X confesses that making her his wife was the ultimate goal of his heart. As he lifts her chin to look into her eyes, the world outside ceases to exist. There is only them. The air is thick with a hunger that's finally been unleashed. Every touch, every kiss, is a desperate claim, as if they're trying to merge into one single soul. There's no turning back now. He looks down at her with a gaze of pure, possessive satisfaction, the world outside this room completely forgotten. He demands everything, every secret, every breath, every piece of her heart. And Alice, trembling with a matching desire, gives her answer with a whispered, breathless plea. The shackles of restraint are gone. With a wedding ring sealing their fate, he realizes he no longer has to hold back. They are husband and wife, bound together forever. In the quiet aftermath, the words they've both longed to hear finally spill out. A confession of love so deep it feels like it could swallow them whole. Morning brings a shift in atmosphere, but the heat of the previous night still lingers. As he dresses in his formal uniform, he can't help but tease her about their reckless passion, pulling her into one last, lingering hug. He checks in with a tender worry, making sure he wasn't too rough. But Alice only sees the gentleness in his eyes. He promises her a future of even more love. A promise she's more than ready to accept. One more kiss to seal the morning. She admits how much she loves the taste of him, and he simply agrees, his heart full as he prepares to face the world again. The intimacy of the bedroom fades as the towering spires of the castle come into view. Stepping back into his role, he meets Rince, exchanging a quiet word of thanks for the events of the previous day. Rince can't resist a smug jab about the here that might soon be on the way, leaving the man beaming with pride. But the mood shifts as they enter the main hall, where a massive crowd has gathered for a seemingly simple appointment. A modest wedding might have been perfect for them, but in the world of nobility, every union is a political game. While the nobles scramble for a connection, X is in no mood for the formalities. He just wants to get this over with. Then comes the moment that changes everything. Amidst the grandeur of the court, the announcement rings out. X Lost is officially appointed as the vice commander of the Night Order. A smirk plays on his lips as he shares a knowing look with his dear friend. Stepping forward, X puts on the mask of the perfect soldier. He humbly accepts the duty, vowing to use every ounce of his strength for the country. But as he faces the crowd, his true intentions begin to surface. The atmosphere shifts instantly. His voice turns cold, delivering a chilling warning. He will show no mercy to anyone who dares touch what is precious to him. Even his own father feels the weight of this sudden, sharp intensity. X doesn't stop there. With a bold declaration, he claims he will take both the family title and the position of Knight Commander himself. It's a challenge wrapped in a promise, and his father can only respond with a smirk of anticipation. The ritual of loyalty begins. Kneeling before Prince Rince, X accepts the blade, not as a sign of submission but as a pact. He asks for the prince's strength, forging a bond that will be the foundation of his new power. The room erupts in cheers, but X is already miles away in his mind. Yesterday he became a husband. Today, a vice commander. He's evolving faster than the world can keep up with, and Rince can't help but wonder what's really going on in his head. The nobles are practically salivating over the chance to connect with a new power player. But X has only one priority: Alice. Without a second glance at the prestige or the politics, he leaves it all behind to rush back to the only person who matters. The moment he's home, the suffocating weight of the uniform comes off. A quick flash of magic, and he's finally himself again. He leans back, reflecting on the year that has passed, finding peace in the quiet of his own space. It all started when his past life's memories returned, bringing with them a singular, unwavering decision. He will protect Alice. He will make her happy no matter the cost. Because for X, giving her everything he owns still wouldn't be enough. Fate has a way of weaving lives together, but this path won't be an easy one. Even amidst the joy, the shadow of future challenges looms large, promising a road filled with struggle. But as he steps forward, the world seems to shrink down to just the two of them. Life is a relentless storm of annoying problems and endless troubles. Yet, as he pulls Alice into a tight embrace, the noise of the world finally fades away. He doesn't care about the chaos, only about the girl in his arms, and the promise he's about to make. A vow is carved into the silence. No matter where he goes, he will always find his way back. "I'm home," he whispers, and in her sparkling eyes she finds the only sanctuary she ever needed. Welcome home. To his beloved Alice, the one who holds his entire heart. There is no greater victory, no higher calling, than simply being by her side for the rest of time. And finally, they find their peace.